peace, love, and prosperity for all of humanity on planet Earth under the sovereign authority of the Empire of Morocco. I am Abdul Al Kabir, the jure and legitimate Sultan of Morocco, um, not to be confused with the 2.0 Sultan, the Impact 2.0 Sultan, the fraudulent Sultan that bears the name Kendon Bey. Which, let's not confuse the two. This is the jure legitimate empire. Today we'll be discussing the Act of Algeciras further, chapters 3, chapters 4. By the way, today is December 21st, 2025, Sunday. And I'm always uh, in great spirits to sharp irons with my brothers and sisters. This, the research, the small research that I did before this class revealed um, uh, an emotion of anger and um, pain, right? Hurt, because it really shows how we've been buried, you know, um, placed in a closet, in a dungeon, in a basement, locked in it. The same thing with Jesus, wasn't he in a cave with a stone that covered the entrance? Um, that's very interesting. That story of Jesus is without a doubt the ascension of the Moors, the rise of the Moors, the return of the Moors. Um, because Jesus means justice, and that's one of our five principles. We we are justice. That's what that scimitar sword represents. That's why we carried it, to issue justice. Now, it might have been barbaric to a degree in those times, um, but justice is justice. You commit a crime, you shall do the time, um, with due process, of course, to determine the truth. So, what we'll do today, before we go into the treaty, the conference, the Algeciras conference, let's take a step back and get some backstory understanding. Um, we need to know what moxin is. We need to know what legation is, because I've been speaking on that, but we haven't showed any information to back up what I'm saying. So we will today before we get into the read. So right now we'll talk about the Sultan uh, that called for the Algeciras conference, Abdelaziz of Morocco, aka Lil Wayne, because he looks like Lil Wayne. And there's different pictures of him, and not all of them and not all of them do he look like that. Some of them he looks like this pale Arab. So you see, it's not even the portraits aren't even consistent. Um, there's a lot of whitewashing and messing around going on with his image, which lends itself to what I said earlier. They have buried us in a shallow grave by way of propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, whitewashing everything. So Mr. Putin had to come publicly and say, Jesus is black, and here's the pictures to prove it. But we know he's a Moroccan. What is the descendant? What are we descendants of? Who Noble Ali said we were descendants of?
Moroccans.
Okay, that's what I thought. And the 101s also says the modern name of the Moabite is Moroccan. I also say that we are the founders and true possessors of the Moroccan Empire. So then in Article 15 in the footnotes, the kingdom and the United States were complicit in in a crime against humanity violation, but only in part because it didn't carry this policy, if you will, executive order, or which you might call it, did not carry the full weight of the state, meaning that the legislative branch did not sign off on it. However, they said that the Moroccan nationality is obsolete and without effect, and that it should be stricken from the Madrid Convention, Article 15. You see, so it's been a concerted effort over a century, um, with a lot of books to hide us, hide who we are. That's why, like right now, we're gonna get ready to, as an example, debunk the word America. We're getting ready to debunk the word America. In fact, we might need to jump straight into that instead of Abdelaziz. We'll come back to Abdelaziz. Let's do that because um you got these books, several books that pitch this ideology that the ancient name is Amaru Khan, Amaru, and all these Khans. And so now the Moors, black people, who are now recognizing that they're indigenous in this land, they're no longer, because there's been a shift. Credit to the Moorish Americans. There's been a shift in which now the people are now seeing themselves as indigenous to this land rather than from Africa. So now it's American is who we are, but that's the new term. The old ancient term when we were Indians was Amarukan. You see the games they're playing with us. Now what's Amarukan or Amaru and all these words that lends itself to America or American to include Al Moroccan. That's Tashriq Bey. Well, Al Moroccan means American. No, the hell it don't. Al Moroccan means the Moroccan. Al means the. Oh, but nowhere in Noble's literature did he say, he didn't say founders and true possessors of the Al Moroccan Empire. He didn't say descendants of Al Moroccans. He didn't say the modern name of the Moabite is Al Moroccan. There's no Al. Drop the Al. It's just mainly Moroccan. So the land is Morocco. People are Moroccan. So the United States of America is in Morocco. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. They came over here. Let's make that clear as if we don't already know. We were over here chilling on red carpets, flying around the skies. Don't think that's fugazi. It was an interconnected system of free energy. Everything worked together. Flying carpet is not beyond the realms of possibilities and definitely not for the Moors. So we was over here chilling with cathedrals, right? Healing centers, absent of pastors and preachers and reverends. The building itself was the healing. All the sacred geometry amongst all around the building. The organ, the building itself carries a sound. We were over here chilling, not paying power bills because it was free energy. They came over here and found these buildings. Therefore, you'll have a placard that says founded in 1850. Not built in 1850, founded. Yeah, you found it. All this was already built up. It was in vast lands of nothing, and you got these Negroes from Africa, brought them over here through the slave ships, and made them build everything. And we bought that story. So if they came over here, found everything over here, that means that based on diplomatic relations with the Empire of Morocco, they would have had to have a diplomatic mission, an embassy of sorts. Yes or no? Somebody say yes or no. Are you following me thus far?
Islam.
Yes, we with you, Sultan.
Morocco, the empire, will be considered the host nation. So the United States of America had an embassy or a diplomatic mission in Morocco. Don't don't get it twisted or confused by the fact that it was in Tangiers, Morocco, which you might deem as overseas and not over here. It doesn't matter. The University of Tampa was the old Sultan's Palace. Go look at the building. You see it. So the point being is that Morocco is a vast empire. So what if they had okay, so what? California is not part of the United States because California is not in DC, District of Columbia. You see how you got to start thinking? Because the District of Columbia is what holds all the diplomatic missions across the world, don't they? Doesn't all the embassies of all the countries across planet Earth reside in Washington, DC? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Oh, we're awake. Let's wake up. Hawaii is part of the United States, but they're not in DC. Does that mean that Hawaii is not that the president of the United States don't have a house in? Come on, let's be competent here. So yes, Tangiers may. And wait, by the way, there is a Tangiers here on this landmass, according to the U.S. um exotic map of the United States. There's a every country around planet Earth is here. As an example, you have a Sparta, Georgia, and an Athens, Georgia. How do I know? I live in Georgia. So you got a Sparta in Georgia and an Athens in Georgia, and so it's also overseas. Yeah, that's how it is. Algiers, Louisiana. So the location for the diplomatic mission was in Tangier, Morocco, where currently it's where the Kingdom of Morocco is. But this was during the time of the empire. So you had your German, British, um, Russian, Italian, American legation. So if you was a Maru Khan, Al Moroccan, if the ancient name of the land is America, then why is there a legation? Brother Rashid, could you please read this here real quick?
Sure. The Tangier American Legation, officially the Tangier American Legation Institute for Moroccan Studies, is a building in the Medina of Tangier, Morocco formerly housed the United States diplomatic mission to Morocco. It was the
Pause,
first American.
pause right there. So right now it has become what? A museum. But formerly, what did it do? Could you read that again, please? What did it house? Read that again, please.
Formerly housed the United States diplomatic mission to Morocco.
So because the United States is in Morocco, period. So it's the United States is America. They are the Americans. So they had a diplomatic mission in Morocco as Americans, known as the American legation, while we were over here chilling, doing what we're doing as Moroccans. We're not American, and this is not America. Continue, brother.
It was the first American public property abroad and is the only U.S. national historic landmark in a foreign country. The legation was established on May 17, 1821, following decades of cordial relations between U.S. and Morocco.
There you go, right there. You see, so the legation was established on May 17, 1821, based on what? The diplomatic relations between the US and Morocco, but it's confining its remarks. It's confining its remarks, just like Hoffman Phillips said when speaking to the Secretary of State, Lee Root, confining my remarks. No, it's just not merely cordial relations. The empire owns you. And we can confirm that based on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So it's not just merely some cordial relations. It is one of the states that belongs to the Sultan in the Empire of Morocco, which is why he had them all located in one district as an efficient means to oversee all of his territories and all of his states. Does that not make sense? Please continue, brother.
Uh, Sultan Mohammed bin Abdallah had issued a proclamation recognizing U.S. independence from Great Britain on December 20th, 1777, making his nation the first to do so. The building was gifted by the Sultan to the U.S. government to serve as a diplomatic post, for which it remained for the next 140 years.
You see that right there? So it went on to say to speak on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the first country to recognize Morocco, the United States. But then the building was gifted by the other sultan to the U.S. government to serve as a diplomatic post. What was the other sultan? Sultan Mulai, back in 1821. But what's most important? What's the important takeaway here? The U.S. government to serve as a diplomatic post is a diplomatic post for the foreigners. So when you read the Act of Algeciras, and it speaks about like the last two chapters, when it spoke about the country concerned had to uh, 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 petition, well, the legation of the country concerned has to petition the Moxen. You see, so that means that's what I was trying to point out last on the last call, right? If it's an American concern, then it's the American legation. If it's a Russian concern, then it's the Russian legation. If it's a German concern, then it's a German, and this is the German legation. So I don't know how else the Moors are going to get to understand that they're not American. This is what's called thorough and speedy Americanization of the former Moors, Resolution 75 of Philadelphia. There has been a thorough of 1933. There has been a thorough and speedy Americanization of the former Moors who are now clinging to principles that allude to slavery just because it sounds good. Please continue, brother.
The Morocco's diplomatic capital moved to Rabat in 1956. The building served a variety of government functions before gradually falling into neglect and disrepair. In 1976, former U.S. diplomats established the nonprofit Tangier American Legation Museum Society to restore and preserve the structure. The site has since served as a cultural center, museum, and research library, concentrating on Arabic language studies. The Tangier American Legation is considered a symbol of the historic cultural, and diplomatic relations between the U.S. and the Kingdom of Morocco, and of long-running American engagement with the wider Islamic world. In recognition of its historic and cultural importance, the site was listed on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places in 1981 and designated a National Historic Landmark the following year. It is one of 39 properties owned by the U.S. Department of State, listed in the Register of Culturally Significant Property.
Islam, back up, because we're not gonna gloss over that. Look at what they said. The Tangier American Legation is considered a symbol of the historical, cultural, and diplomatic relations between the U.S. and the Kingdom of Morocco. Really? Really? Who sees a problem with this statement? What's the problem with this statement?
They mentioned
They
the
trying to
Arab,
they trying to
preserving
they
it for
trying
the
to
Arabs.
they trying to brush off the empire, the de jure history.
No, no, yeah. So what? But what is the what's wrong with the language? What's stated? Kingdom of Morocco, right? Diplomatic relations between the U.S. and the Kingdom of Morocco. Come on, diplomatic relations between the U.S. and the Empire of Morocco. It's the empire that there was in relations with, not the kingdom. The kingdom did not recognize them in 1777, according to what's stated up here. It's the Empire of Morocco. Now, let's just read up top here real quick before we move on, because we'll move on from here. I just wanted to point out the legation. Read diplomatic history.
The legation is an elaborate Moorish style building
What
of
is it?
stu- an elaborate Moorish style building
Um,
of stuccoed masonry. This complex
mm,
structure contains the two-story mud and stone building presented to the United States in 1821 by Sultan Muli Suleiman, the first property acquired abroad by the United States government. It housed the United States legation and consulate for 140 years, the longest period any building abroad has been occupied as a United States diplomatic post. It is symbolic of the 1786 Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship, which is still in force today.
which is still enforced today. It is sim, and that's the reason why it states that it's housed the United States legation and consulate for 140 years, the longest period any building abroad has been occupied as a United States diplomatic post. Because your entire history is attached to the empire. You're going back since 1786. Continue, bro. And it's the Moroccan American Treaty. Here we go again. Let's examine that. Dress right dress. Military dress right dress. The flag on the left is dominant to the flag on the right, which is subordinate. If you're watching a speaker, a head of state, and you're looking at him speak, and and there's another dignitary that he's speaking with, right? Another head of state. Both of their flags will be highlighted, correct? So if I'm looking at the head of state of the country, his flag would be on the left and the foreign flag would be on the right. That's your perception as the audience watching him speak. But it changes when you're the speaker. So if I'm the Sultan speaking, To the people, the Moroccan flag would be over my right shoulder, whereas to you is to the left. You see? So the Moroccan flag would be over my right shoulders, and the foreign flag would be over my left shoulders. So the dominant power goes to the left, from your vantage point as a, the observance of your vantage point, looking at the speaker or looking at the item. But if you're the speaker, then it's over your right shoulder changes. But anyhow, so my point being is that it says Moroccan American Treaty. So with that logic that I just presented, which is which is the dominant country?
Morocco, the
Hmm.
empire.
And that's how it's labeled. This is they
Hmm.
don't think they don't know this. Morocco is the dominant. America is the subordinate. So, are you sure you want to be Amaru Khan? Are you sure you want to be an American Indian of sorts? Or do you want to take or occupy the dominant role in the contract, which is the Moroccan side of the contract? If the roles were reversed, I'll be American all day. I don't care about the words and whatever cultural whatever attached to it. What I care about is liberation. What is our battle for? Liberation, freedom, justice, equality. We want freedom from our oppressors. Well, if you want freedom from your oppressors, then it's incumbent upon you to establish your own political power structure to regain that power, to regain that sovereignty and independence. And according to these contracts, that political power structure is the Empire of Morocco, as you see it laid out here. Okay, so that's enough regarding because we got a lot to cover, right? That's enough, right? You can always go back. This is what the building looked like, by the way. See that? Look at the architecture. Moorish style architecture, just like it said. You see the U.S. seal up here, right? This is what they were occupying during the time of the empire as a foreign nation with a diplomatic post in Morocco. Okay, good brother. Let's talk about Sultan Abdulaziz, aka Lil Wayne. Let's start at the top here. A brief bio. Then we'll briefly touch on his early life, but we really want to get into um the Algeciras conference real quick. You see him there with his bike, and you see he doesn't even look the same. Where did it go? It doesn't even look the same. It's very interesting. And what did they say about him regarding this? What happened here? Uh, sorry about that. Abdelaziz with his bicycle published in La Vie Illustrée, 1901. There have been tall tales of the young sultan having sold Morocco for a bicycle that have circulated in popular culture and on social media. Right? So he was a young sultan who took over based on the monarchy. We'll find out about that here. Go ahead, brother. Read that right here for me, please.
Mhm. So, Moulay Abdel Aziz bin Hassan, 24th of February 1878 through 10 June of 1943, was a Sultan of Morocco from 9 June 1894 to 21 August 1908 as a ruler of the Alawi
All a while.
Alawi dynasty. He was proclaimed Sultan at the age of 16 after the death of his father, Hassan I. Moulay Abdel Aziz tried to strengthen the central government by implementing a new tax on agriculture and livestock, a measure which was strongly opposed by sections of the society. This in turn led Abdelaziz to mortgage the customs revenues and to borrow heavily from the French, which was met with widespread revolt in a revolution that deposed him in 1908 in favor of his brother, Abd al-Hafid. Abdel Aziz was born. Oh no, is that the same thing? Yeah, but this is about talking about Islam. Abdel Aziz was born on 24th of February 1878 or 18th of February 1881 to Hassan I of Morocco and Layla Rukaya, who was a Caucasian concubine who became Hassan's favorite wife. Shortly before his death in
Sir,
1894,
and that's
Hassan,
Circassian. That's Circassian, by the way.
oh, Circassian, pardon self, Circassian. Shortly before his death in 1894, Hassan I designated Muli Abdel Aziz his heir, despite his young age. Previously, Hassan's other son, Muley Muhammad, was the accepted successor of Hassan. However, he was dismissed because he was allegedly a poor commander and half-hearted Muslim. Abdel Aziz was chosen over his brothers because he was Hassan's favorite son. Abdel Aziz's education was mostly focused on religious subjects rather than the practice of government affairs. His teachers included a pro-reform scholar from Marrakesh, al-Faqih Mufadal al-Susi, who would later provide fatwas on the legality of Abdel Aziz's proposed reforms. The aspect of his education that had the biggest effect on his rule was his isolation from the people, preventing him from understanding what behaviors were appropriate for a sultan to display publicly.
Okay, a very important takeaway here. What was his education focused on? Religious
Religious
subject
aspects, yeah, religious subjects. Pardon.
rather than practice of government affairs. You see how we ended up with the Moroccan crisis. This is the reason why the empire is a secular state. It has to be strictly focused on the practice of government affairs. Religion ain't got nothing to do with government. I know the Moors like to think that. The only if it does, it's not religion, it's divinity. Big difference. Your human rights is not a man-given right. It's a God-given right, you see. That has nothing to do with religion. That's divinity. God could be Allah, God could be Buddha, God could be higher self. However you choose to view it. It's a divine concept that man protects. Mm. What man or women? The competent authority of the state by way of the Constitution. So the Constitution protects the people's rights to their religious practice, but no test shall be given to any government official. I, as the Sultan, I can't be in my personal capacity. I can be whatever I want to be, but I can't promote Christianity or let's say Islam, which is what's more in alignment, right, with the empire. That's what the Moors want to see, would rather see, would like to see. That's what Yahya wanted to see. Okay, well then that alienates all the Christian brothers and sisters. It alienates all the Buddhist brothers and sisters. It alienates all our other brothers and sisters who may not subscribe to Islam. I must lead with government, political principle, uh, practice of government affairs, not religion. And so, not only is his studies were mostly focused on religious subjects, but he was also just a 16-year-old, which is the other problem with the monarchy. I mean, they didn't even groom him for it. They got him over there praying to Allah instead of understanding government operation, the do's and don'ts. And perhaps you would have been able to uh, be in such a position to where he wouldn't have to do what mortgage the custom revenues to France. Continue, brother.
It's the reign. In academic literature, Abdul Aziz's reign is often referred to as the prelude to protectorate. Historians both before and after colonialism often write about this period as if the fall of the Moxen was inevitable due to the accumulation of forces preventing reform.
Pause. You know what he said? Historians both before and after colonialism often write about this period as if the fall of what? The Moxen was inevitable due to accumulation of forces preventing reforms. Somebody asked about the spelling of Moxen because it's different. There's also a G spelling, Maghzen. And you see here is Makhzen. You see both. So that what I would say, Morris, of the empire is be in alignment with what the Constitution says and how it's spelled in the Constitution. And according to the Constitution, this is how it's spelled with a Khzen. As a national, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. As a government official, treaties is the supreme law of the land, and the Constitution, but treaties for the state. This for the state, for the empire, treaties is the supreme law of the land. For the people, the citizens or the nationals, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Same case for Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land for the citizens of the United States. The treaty is the supreme law of the land for the United States government. Two parts to that understanding. Um. Okay, brother, go ahead. Continue with the early reign.
Early reign. Abdul Aziz's accession to the Sultanate was ensured with little fighting because of his mother, Lala Ruqayya, and Ba Ahmed, the Chamberlain and Grand Vizier of Hassan I. Ba Ahmed became regent and for 6 years showed himself a capable ruler. In 1895, tribes of southern Morocco rose up in rebellion at the head of a Mahala with support from the large Tuga tribe. Abdul Aziz marched south and defeated the southern rebels, triumphantly entering Marrakesh in March 1896 with his regent Ahmed capturing a large booty of horses and camels. On his death in 1900, the regency ended, and Abdul Aziz took the reins of government into his own hands. The new Moxen, appointed by Abdul Aziz, favored reform as the best way of preserving Moroccan independence. Originally, a cousin of Ba Ahmed became Grand Vizier, but was replaced by an elderly Andalusian official, Muhammad al Mufadal ibn Muhammad Garnit.
And what was he? An Andalusian? Mm. Y'all remember, right? Granada, the fall of Granada, Andalusia. All that is the empire. I mean, it is Spain. Spain is one of the 12 signatories. We got to start connecting the dots. Continue, brother.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abd al Karim ibn Suleiman, who supported reforms, and Minister of Finance, Abd al Salam al Tazi, remained in their positions. The most important figure in government was the royal favorite, Mehdi al Minabi, an Arab from the south, and young Mukzani of rural origin who became his aide de camp and chief advisor. Minabi, like Abdul Aziz, supported reform, and he was given the position of Minister of War. Another important figure in this time was the Scottish drill sergeant, Cade Harry Aubrey de Vere MacLean, who became part of Abdul Aziz's inner circle, providing him with entertainment and whatever he desired abroad.
Point of interest. Let me say this as well. Don't get it twisted. That brother, Harry Aubrey de Vere McLean, don't make the mistake of automatically thinking that this is a European white person. Please don't.
Because I was thinking that when I read the
I
name.
know you was. And I know a lot of people do. This is the early 1900s. Moors were still in power. This is more than likely a Moor. Now, if I click on this picture, they're gonna show me a whitewash version, no doubt. But remember, what was William Dungy? The case with Abraham Lincoln. What was uh Mr. Dungy?
More
Yeah, but what type of Moor?
Portugal.
Portuguese Moor. You see? So if you see William Dungy right here, if you're reading this instead of Harry Aubrey, whatever, it says William Dungy, automatically you're gonna think some white dude. See? You see what they made? You see what they got him looking like? Exactly. Right? But imagine that name was William Dungy. You're automatically gonna think that that's what he looks like. Uh, this is the brainwashing that we have sustained as a people, man. We don't see ourselves in nothing. But more than likely he was probably a Moor. All right, brother. But let's touch on this part here real quick. On the same year, the French administration.
On the same year, the French administration of Algeria called for the annexation of the Tuat region, which was part of Morocco back then, and owned religious and tributary allegiance to the sultans of Morocco. The territory was annexed by France in 1901. Subsequently, in 1903, France began to expand westward towards Bekaa and Tindouf, defeating the Moroccan forces in the Battle of Tajik and Battle of El Mungar. As urged by his mother, the Sultan sought advice and counsel from Europe and endeavored to act on it. But advice not motivated by a conflict of interest was difficult to obtain. And in spite of the unquestionable desire of the young ruler to do what was best for the country, wild extravagance both in action and expenditure resulted, leaving the Sultan with a depleted exchequer and the
Exchequer.
confident exchequer
Remember,
with a
Tosfree Bays, you talk about that. What check mean is the exchequer chamber. You remember that? Go back and listen to Todd.
uh,
He talked about the exchequer. Go ahead, brother.
Sultan with a depleted exchequer and the confidence of his people impaired. His intimacy with foreigners and his imitation of their ways were sufficient to rouse strong popular opposition. While privately owned printing presses have been allowed since 1872, Abdulaziz passed a dahir in 1897 that regulated what could be printed, allowing the Qadi of Fez to establish a board to censor publications and requiring that the judges be notified of any publication so as to avoid printing something that is not permitted. According to the Moroccan history, Abdallah Larue, these restrictions limited the volume and variety of Moroccan publications at the turn of the century, and institutions such as Al Qarawiyyan University and Sufi Qarawiyyan
Mm-hmm.
University and Sufi Zawiyas became dependent on imported texts from Egypt.
Pause real quick. Let's go back. What did he say here? His intimacy with foreigners and his imitation of their ways were sufficient to rouse strong popular opposition. What Noble Jew Ali said that the Moors started to do what with the pale nations of Europe? Amalgamate.
Mm.
This is where this starts with your Sultan Moors, our Sultan. By the way, how many people knew that the Sultan in 1906 name was Abdel Aziz? How many? Listen, I could assure you that any one of you can give me off the top of your head with the snap of a finger 5 presidents' names. I bet you couldn't give me 3 Sultans' names, me
Right.
included. I ain't no better. I might, well, okay, I can't give you about 3. I can say Hassan, I can say Abdulaziz, and I can say Sidi Muhammad. Hassan, and the reason why I know those 3 is because those are the 3 who dealt with those treaties. So Sidi Muhammad was the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Hassan the First was the Treaty of Madrid, and Abdulaziz is the Act of Algeciras. That's the reason why I'm able to tell you that. But aside from that, just recently, previous to understanding those treaties, I couldn't tell you other than Sidi Muhammad. We know about Sidi Muhammad, and you have to be a Moorish American to learn about Sidi Muhammad, because the average black man still don't know nothing about no Sidi Muhammad. We can rattle off at least 5, 10. George Washington, Kennedy, Trump, Biden, Obama. I can give you five easy. But we can't do that with our own ruler of Morocco. Things that make you go, right? We 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 gotta do we really gotta wow. We gotta learn self as a people. And I'm not even talking to you on the call. I'm talking to every uh, brother and sister within the Wizard of Oz, the American jurisdiction, that check the box black in their applications. We gotta come to this. This is heartbreaking. It's frustrating. It's hard to know. It's easier to be ignorant because you can't really find things in common with other people. They're lost and you're found. You're not better than them. But when you try to elevate them, even with the reference points, they don't even want to hear it. That's very difficult, especially when we're in a fight for liberation. And these same people want the same liberation, but don't want to understand or learn how to achieve it. And even those that are within the movement don't even want to do nothing. They want to just be nationals. They want to just sit around. Yet complain about the white man. Man, I ain't got time. Go ahead, brother. Continue.
Islam. Mm, his attempt to reorganize the country's finances by the systemic levy of taxes was hailed with delight, but the government was not strong enough to carry the measures through, and the money which should have been used to pay the taxes was employed to purchase firearms instead. And so the
You see
Benin,
that,
like, you know, with firearms.
right? Right.
And so the Benin intentions of Muli Abdul Aziz were interpreted as weakness, and Europeans were accused of having spoiled the Sultan and of being desirous of spoiling the country.
You see that? So they they molded him. They took a young sultan and spoiled him and molded him. And this is the beginning of the Moroccan crisis. Continue, bro.
When British engineers were employed to survey the route for a railway between Menace and Fez,
Meknes.
Meknes and Fez, this was reported as indicating the sale of the country outright. The strong opposition of the people was aroused, and a revolt broke out near the Algerian frontier. Such was the state of things when the news of the Anglo-French agreement of 1904 came as a blow to Abdelaziz, who had relied on England for support and protection against the inroads of France.
You see this? So why was he relying on the support of England and France? Because his own Moors wasn't they were undermining him as well. But we see why. I can just see it right now. The population saying, "Man, you think you're the white man?"
Yeah, he gravitated towards the Caucasians instead
Right.
of the
I can
melanated.
see.
It's like, nigga,
Right. I
sell
can
out.
see us going in on him. Go ahead, somebody. Someone answer. I can see us going in on him. But don't get it twisted. I'll say it again. He relied on the British, on England, for support and protection. Don't think white man. Because what Charles
Mhm.
III looked like, what is his hairstyle look like?
Or
Bro,
A fro.
yep.
So don't get it twisted. See, you see what I'm saying? The same thing with this guy up here, Mr. McLean. Don't get it twisted, more. This is the early 1900s. We still was E- Now, perhaps they were, I don't know, they could have been uh British subjects of sorts, like, I don't know, bro. 1856, Her Majesty of 1856 did not look like Queen Elizabeth. She looks more like, I don't know if you guys seen that picture of Haile Selassie with the Queen of England bowing down to kiss his hands. Has anyone seen that picture?
Yes, sir. With the king and the queen
Correct.
bowing to him.
Now, that woman is supposed to be a Moor that's bowing to Haile Selassie. I've seen a picture of her as a Moor. I've seen a picture of her looking European, pale. Well, white. I don't like to use the word pale. It's kind of, I'm not trying to be derogatory to anyone. Let's go with the word that everyone knows, white. And we're not free white persons, according to some Black's Law, because if you look up the Black's Law dictionary, it says all types of other nationalities, Portuguese and all this and that, except Moroccan. We're Moroccan. Now, we are the landlords, but it ain't got nothing to do with a color or some caste system that they created. Moroccan is an absolute nationality that calls for the automatic understanding or equivalent definition of landlord. More Moroccan means landlord. Islam.
Islam.
So yeah, he needed some help from England, but again, these Caucasian type of Europeans, they never won a battle without the assistance of who? The Moors.
More.
So there will always be Moors involved. So he was relying on the Moors, but these Moors was on a separate were within another jurisdiction, perhaps naturalized in a foreign jurisdiction, because he's talking about England, right or wrong. Okay, to deal with France. But guess what? France had too, Moorish soldiers. Man, they ain't never won without us on the front lines, man. Even the United States, all the World War and Vietnam veterans and stuff that came back and now are homeless and strung out on drugs. Purple Heart holding military veterans. These are Moors, just thrown to the side. So how Tupac said, you got money for war, but can't feed the poor? Come on now. Go ahead, brother. When British engineer. Oh, you already did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Algeciras
go into the
conference.
Algeciras conference. Yes.
Algeciras conference. On the advice of Germany, Abdulaziz proposed an international conference at Algeciras in 1906 as a result of the first Moroccan crisis in
Did
1905.
I tell you that in the last class? Brother North Star, if you're on, take notice. Pay attention to what we're getting ready to read here regarding Germany. Go ahead, brother.
To consult upon methods of reform, the Sultan's desire being to ensure a state of affairs which would leave foreigners with no excuse to interfere in the control of the country and thereby promote its welfare, which he had earnestly desired from his accession to power. This was not, however, the result achieved, and while on June 18th, the Sultan nonetheless ratified the resulting act of the conference, which the country's delegates had found themselves unable to sign. The anarchic state into which Morocco fell during the latter half of 1906 and the beginning of 1907 revealed the young ruler as lacking sufficient strength to command the respect of his turbulent subjects. The final act of the
You
conference.
see. I'm sorry. You see what he said? You see what they said? See, they're not telling us they're confining their remarks. This was not, however, the result achieved, and while on June 18th, the Sultan nonetheless ratified this resulting act of the conference, which the country's delegates had found themselves unable to sign. The anarchic state into which Morocco fell during the latter half of 1906 and the beginning of 1907 revealed the young ruler as lacking sufficient strength to command the respect of his turbulent subjects. Who are the subjects? Who are the turbulent subjects?
We are.
The
Thank
foreigners.
you.
Ours.
Thank you. You weren't having it. Like, what's wrong with this dude?
Mm.
Man, I did a class on it already in the Impact Media. I mean, there was a revolt. They were throwing rocks at all the French. Oh man, it was captured by the French media, the publications at that time, and it was, we went over that particular lesson, but um, we just wasn't having it, and this is part of the reason why, you know, a lot of us went off into tribes and basically just undermined the empire because it was just, out of control like this. And what's the reason for it? It is a monarchy,
Mm.
right? It's a monarchy, and it was passed on to a 16-year-old.
Right.
See, if it was based on a diplomatic republic, right, it will be passed on to whoever the people deem as the most competent. Which, to prove your competency, you have to have spent at least 4 years as a wazir to even be qualified to be the sultan. You see, so whatever works you've done within your internal state, that's what you campaign when you're running for the office of sultan. I did this, I did that. Check my record as the wazir of Ampag or whoever. You follow? You're showcasing your competency, and the people get to choose and decide who they like best. Not just, oh, you're just gonna be sultan because you're my son, and never mind that you're 16 and don't know nothing other than how to pray. That's how we ended up in that circumstance, or the empire at least, the Moroccan uh, uh, crisis. Continue, brother.
The final act of the conference, signed on 7th April 1906, covered the organization of Moroccan police and customs, regulations concerning the repression of the smuggling of armaments and concessions to the European bankers from a new state bank of Morocco.
Ah,
Issuing
go back, read again, please.
the final act of the conference, signed on 7 April 1906, covered the organization of Moroccan police and customs, regulations concerning the repression of the smuggling of armaments and concessions to the European bankers from a new state bank of Morocco.
Continue. Issuing.
Issuing banknotes backed by gold with a 40-year term. The new state bank was to act as Morocco's central bank with a strict cap on the spending of the Sharifian Empire.
Come on, Moors. Who said this? Moors, you're playing rich. Who said that?
Noble Drew Ali.
Because he knows about this. He knew about the treaty. Where else would he get this information? Look at this. So the State Bank of Morocco is supposed to be the central bank for Morocco. So who has been taking that place? The IMF, the Federal Reserve, etc. European banks. So y'all can exist. No worries. We're not here to stop your operations. Stopping your operations is disregarding the empire's cash flow. Did you hear what I said?
Oh.
That's that's Moroccan revenue. What has to happen, however, is the Moroccan state bank must be in place to funnel all that finance through. Get it? So Morris, get away from this whole, oh, we don't want their stuff and they got to get away and they got to go away and blah, blah, blah. No. That's like Jeff Bezos firing all his employees. Or let's say even better, that's like Coca-Cola just canceling all their contracts with all these drinks that you never knew was Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is an umbrella company that has many other subsidiary, right, companies below it, or even like a franchise. That's even a better example. Imagine McDonald's canceling all the McDonald's franchise contracts all across America. That's what we're doing. If we say, y'all got to get out of here, we are like the highest level CEOs, hedge funds managers, Moors. Get used to it. It's a corporation, but it's the corporation of all corporations. So it's an umbrella corporation, the great enterprise of which all these other corporations are subordinate to and must pay a certain tax, i.e., revenue or cash flow. So the central bank of Morocco, the Morocco's central bank, this should and will allow the IMF and all these other banking systems to continue to roll as long as they pay their tributes. They have to work through the Central Bank of Morocco, not around, through it. That's what's going to build the harmony between the empire and all the European powers. But we get 51+% of the revenue. They will always get the lesser amount. That's the problem that they're going to have. Because they're greedy. They want it all. Sorry, you signed the treaty. Continue, brother.
And administrators appointed by the national banks, which guaranteed the loans. The German Empire, United Kingdom, France, and Spain. Spanish coinage continued to circulate. The right of Europeans to own land was established, whilst taxes were to be levied towards public works.
No. The right of European to own land was not established. What was established? The word is not own. What's the other word, Morris?
Rent.
Lease.
Yeah, lease.
It's a specific word. Yes, but those aren't the specific. It's a specific word. Hold. They get to hold property. HOLD. Hold property, not own property. So if you hold property, then yes, it's based on a lease, some sort of rental agreement. But then we also see the Sharifian Empire. You see how you talk about my Empire Morocco, Mauritian? See, it's 4 different ways that you identify the empire: Sharifian Empire, Moroccan Empire, Moorish Empire, Empire of Morocco. Okay. Now we're going into the rebellion and this, that, and the third. I just wanted to really cover the Algeciras conference because we're getting ready to go into it now. Let's go into it now. And there's other things to look at, such as Moxon, but we'll go back and look at it later. While we're on the subject matter, chapter 3, what does that say?
A bank.
Act
Act
of
of concession
state
for
bank.
state bank.
Is there somebody? Okay, Rashid, let's give you a break and let, I guess, Brother Buck, whoever else wanted to read, go for it, good brother.
Okay, I go for it. Article 31. We're going to start on chapter 3, Act of concession for a state bank. Article 31. A bank shall be established in Morocco under the name of the State Bank of Morocco to exercise the following specified rights. The American Journal of International Law.
Don't worry about that title. Just go straight. Continue with the read regarding the provisions.
All right. Which are granted to it by His Majesty the Sultan for a period of 40 years to date from the ratification of this act. Article 32. The bank, which will have power to carry on all transactions entering into the operations of a bank, shall have the exclusive privilege of issuing notes to bearer, payable or presentations and receivable for public dues throughout the Moorish Empire. Excuse me. The bank shall maintain for a period of 2 years to date from its going into operation cash on hand at least equal to half its notes in circulation, and equal to at least one-third after the expiration of said period of 2 years. At least one-third of such cash on hand is to be gold bullion or gold coin. Article 33. The bank shall, to the exclusion of every other bank or establishment of credit, discharge the duty of disbursing treasurer of the empire. To this end, the Moorish government shall take all necessary measures to deposit in the bank proceeds of the custom revenues, exclusive of the part thereof applied to the loan of 1904, and such other revenues as it may designate.
Now you start to understand a little bit. Now you see with that backstory with dealing with the Sultan Abdulaziz, right? Remember he mortgaged the custom revenues. Y'all remember, right? So this was to right the wrongs of the Sultan. However, in order to right the wrongs of the Sultan, who needed to be in um in operation, or in, should I say, in cooperation, or as part of the reform, let's say that, the Moorish government, not the Moorish American government, not the black government, not the African American government, not the Hebrew Israelite government, not the Blood or the Crips government, not the Baptist government, not the NAACP government, right? Not the Black Panther government or the Nation of Islam government or the Olmec government or the Cherokee government or the American or Amadu Khan government. Moorish government. You can replace that word Moorish, as everybody would like to say, with black if you'd like. But guess what? It's in the etymology dictionary under the word Moor. It's a lot of fluff, but then it says black on the first paragraph. And then the second paragraph of the definition is a whole lot more bluff, and then it says Negro. That's what a Moor is, period. So if you want to say black government because you want to be ignorant, then okay, it still translates because Moorish means those people who are melanated that look like us. So if you happen to check the box black, okay, but you're still a Moor. And you're supposed to take your place in your seat within the Moorish government, sir, ma'am. Do y'all follow what I'm saying? It's the Moorish government that oversees the Act of Algeciras. So when Germany, see, this is why it's not telling the full story what we read. It's not just, oh, just establish, you need to enact the Algeciras Conference. No, it's bring the Moors back. You need the Moors because right now they're not rocking with you, Sultan. So you got to find a way, right, to get in their good graces because they're the only ones that can help you, sir. Y'all follow what I'm saying? You see the full picture now? See, they're confining their remarks. This is what I was saying earlier. They're saying it without saying it. Most of the times it's not what you say, it's what you didn't say and all that you said. So you see what they're not saying, but then you come back and you read the treaty with understanding of these terms, because if a regular black man reads this, he's not going to see himself as the Moorish government. He's looking for black government. But then Moorish is black. Not, connotatively speaking, it's black. Meaning that if you're a black man, you're a Moor. You just don't know that. You carrying on the whole black thing. But who is the authority here? Is the takeaway of this banking reform? The Moorish government. And it didn't say it once, it said it twice thus far. And we've only been in what, 2 articles, if that. Started off by saying the Moorish Empire, the Black Empire. Huh? Connotatively speaking, we get what I'm saying. Y'all got to also remember these classes for the black man and the black woman who thinks that they're black and white. I mean, black and Negro and African American, but they're Moors. I don't have a problem with meeting them where they're at. You know why? Because I'm confident in knowing exactly who I am. Versus those who have no clue who they are, but they're playing this crayon game, thinking that that's their actual identity. They must come to the understanding that it's just merely a caste system that um that's the slave name. That's the slave name, not Smith, Johnson, and it's black. Why is it this? Why is that the slave name? Because it's access to an entire nation, which reduced you into the mindset of slaves because you lost your knowledge of self based on that. Smith is a blacksmith. I was getting a call. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
That was my son. Smith is a blacksmith, swordsmith. So clearly that's not a European name. Moors is who built or engineered swords. Hmm. So it's clearly not the last name. We got to get away from that misunderstanding. It's the name, it's the incorrect name assessed to us all as a nation, the black people, the Negroes, colored people. That's the slave name. The free national name is Moroccan. Continue, brother.
With references to the special tax established in order to carry out certain public works, the Moorish government must have the same deposited in the bank, as well as the revenues it may later pledge for its loans. The bank being especially charged with the payments thereon, except, however, in the case of the loan of 1904, which is governed by special contract, Article 34. The bank shall be the financial agent of the government both within and without the empire, without prejudice to the government's right to apply to other banking houses or establishments of credit for its public loans. The bank, however, shall enjoy, in regard to such loans, a right of preference, other conditions being equal, over any banking or credit establishment. For treasury notes or other short-term notes which the Moorish governments may wish to negotiate without making it a public issue, the bank shall, however, be charged to the exclusion of every other establishment with negotiating the same for the account of the Moorish government, either in Morocco or abroad. Article 35. The bank shall make advances to the Moroccan government on account current up to 1,000,000 francs, chargeable against treasury
That's
receipts.
francs.
France. Okay.
Yeah, that's the French currency
France.
that you'll also be getting paid in as well. So don't
Oh,
get twisted with don't get the dollar. Yeah, well, what you gonna complain about the francs too and all the other currencies? We got to get away from that. Take advantage of what's going on right now, and then we can fix things later. Right? Continue.
right. The bank shall likewise open a credit account for the government for the period of 10 years, to date from its establishment. Such accounts not to exceed 2/3 of its initial capital. This credit account shall be distributed over several years and employed primarily for the expenses of establishing and maintaining the bodies of police, organized in conformity to the decision adopted by the conference, and secondarily for the expenses of such works of public interest as might not be charged to the special fund as provided for by the following article. The maximum rate for these two advances will be 7%, bank commissions included, and the bank may asks the government to give as security an equal amount in treasury notes. If if before the expiration of the said term of 10 years, the Moorish government should contract a loan, the bank would have the right to obtain the immediate reimbursement of its advances made in accordance with the second paragraph of the present article, Article 36. The proceeds of the special taxes, Article 33 and 66, shall form a special fund for which the bank shall keep a separate account. This fund shall be employed in conformity to the regulations adopted by the conference. In the case of its insufficiency and chargeable to later receipts, the bank may open a special credit for such fund, the amount of which should not exceed the total of the receipt for the provision for the previous year. The conditions of the rate and commission shall be the same as those established by the preceding article for advances to the Treasury on accounts current. Could you excuse me for a minute? Somebody's blowing up my doorbell.
Okay, brother, go
One
ahead.
of the kids must be locked out again. Hold on. 37.
While you do that, he'll be back. Um, we we gotta really take a look at this treaty collectively as a people, and you as an individual. Really, starting with you. The journey starts with self, and then we all come together. That's the rise of the Black Messiah that J. Edgar Hoover was talking about. Don't ever get it confused when they speak in singular terms. They're never talking about this one special leader guy. They're always talking about a collective. That's us together rising up. Sure, I hold a seat that gives me so-called leadership position, but I'm not a leader guy per se. First of all, this comes with the full force of full weight of the state, the country. As such, if you knock my head off, aka assassinate me, unalive me, suicide me, there's another head that's gonna grow. You knock that head off, there's another head that's gonna grow. There's always gonna be a head growing. And there's not one. The leader guy is the country. That's the leader guy, not in the spirit of a individual Farrakhan or Malcolm X or Noble Ali or whatever individual freedom fighter leader guy. That's not what this is. This is a government. The government is the head, is the leader, because everything, as the Attorney General excellently displayed earlier today, and he's been doing this in the past couple of weeks, going over the Constitution. He's showing the relationship between the government, the the House, and the Sultan.
Okay, I'm back.
It's not. It's a cohesive relationship. This is where. This is why it's so important to have harmony. We gotta harmonize under unity, loyalty, conformity, and obedience, because we gotta work together. We're all one leader. Then you got this one person that's the head of state. But again, you chop that head off, there's another one that's going to grow. That's the prime minister who becomes the sultan. You chop his head off, then here comes the vice prime minister who now became the prime minister. And then when that happened, one of the wazirs had to become the vice prime minister, right? So you're just going to keep. How long are you going to keep knocking heads off? before you get it. We're not going anywhere. These heads keep growing. That's what we got going. That's the structure that we have set right now. But it's not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable if we don't have unity and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And we're stop rocking the boat. Because just like I used to tell people with the WRC, you rock the boat enough, so you're liable to get thrown over the boat. You're causing too much ruckus. You're rocking the boat. Can we have a smooth journey to decolonization? We need distractions and foolishness. What we must do is study. Most of us, especially in this new empire, are students because most of the people here are brand new. Whereas the uh, radical left faction and Pack 2.0, most of the experience went with them. Most people here that came with us are new, just just been barely recognized in the span of 2 months. So you're still everyone, most of us, and even me, still perpetually. We will always be in the learning mode. We'll always be students, but even more so if you're brand new. If you've just been recognized, you're a student. Focus on learning and studying and coming with questions of things that you may not understand. That's that's more like it. We're always here to answer questions. So study, find something that you don't understand, bring it to us and we'll discuss this. We'll sharpen that iron. Iron sharpens iron. That right there lends itself to harmony. Islam, continue, brother.
Article 37. The bank shall take such measures as it may deem conducive to a sounder monetary situation in Morocco. Spanish currency perm, shall continue to be permitted to circulate as legal tender. In consequences, the bank shall have the exclusive charge of purchasing precious metals, of striking and melting coins, as well as of all its other monetary operations for the account and profit of the Moorish government. Article 38.
For whose profit, brother? Oh, was vice prime to for whose profit?
The Moorish government.
Oh, oh,
Mhm. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
You'll find a sense of pride in reading this. Remember, we're coming. That's not what we come from. In modern times, we're coming from poverty, but we don't come from poverty. We've always been a wealthy people. But in modern times, rising out of the ashes as a phoenix, as the phoenix that we are, we're coming from poverty. So to see a document, a contract that tells you that all the profits go to you, now it says the Moorish government. Remember, it's about this contract dealing with the competent authority. But see, the Moorish government, the obligations of the Moorish government with those profits is to adhere to the well-being of its population, of its people. You follow? Because there's a cha-cha dance. You pay taxes, the government takes care of you. Feed mama, mama feed you back. It's a back and forth thing. Doesn't have to be predatory taxes, right? Federal Reserve type, IRS type taxes, where the people are just getting ran over and all the corporations are getting all the loopholes and all the tax breaks. No, no, no. That's not going to be the Moroccan way. So don't come with the with the trauma, with the US trauma. Paying taxes doesn't mean US IRS. Start to grow from that trauma. But we do got to pay taxes. Who pays the brunt of the taxes though? That would be the foreign corporations. That's where the big money comes from. The regular nationals, I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but maybe a sales tax. Ain't gonna be no 36% income tax though. No, sir. We That's just ridiculous, right? This got to be absolutely uh, easy for the people. Keep in mind that the way I see uh, the state of the empire upon decolonization is the people shall how do I put this? Um, the same system that the Jews have set up, where they don't know poverty. There isn't a Jew that knows poverty. Why is that? Because there's a certain system in place that they're working with. I know what they. I don't have a well versed understanding, but I have an understanding. Well, we shall employ the same concept. We will not have anyone in poverty. What they have taken away from us, we shall regain. It's just like the Eddie Murphy movie, Trading Places. Yes, we got to trade places back. Sorry, but we are the sovereigns of the land. We are the indigenous ones. We belong in castles. We belong in palaces. We belong in five-star hotels. We belong on yachts. We belong with trust funds. We are trust fund babies. But the empire has to come back in place in order to institute the reforms that would bring it back to the hands of the people. I hope you follow what I'm saying. Continue, brother.
Article 38. The home office of the bank shall be at Tangier, but it shall establish branches and agencies in the principal cities of Morocco or in any other place it may deem expedient. Article 39. The land necessary for the establishment of the bank, as well as its branches and agencies in Morocco, shall be placed gratuitously at its disposal by the government, and at the expiration of the concession, the government shall retake possession of it and reimburse the bank for the cost of building these establishments. The bank shall further be authorized to purchase such houses and land as it may require for the same purpose. Article 40. The
So,
American
so in
Journal.
one area it said the Moorish government. Now it says the Sharifian government. You see the pattern?
Yep.
Moors really see these things. All right, continue, brother.
Article 40. The Sharifian government shall ensure and be responsible for the safety and protection of the bank, its branches and agencies. To this end, it shall place an adequate guard at the disposal of each establishment in every city. Article 41. The bank, its branches and agencies shall be exempt from all imposts or dues, ordinary, ordinary or extraordinary, existing or to be created. The same exemption shall be extended to real estates devoted to its use, and in the certificates and coupons of its shares and to its notes. Then the importation and exportation of metals and coins intended for banking operations shall be authorized and exempt from every tax. Article 42. The Sharifian government shall exercise its high supervision over the bank by a high commissioner, whom it shall appoint after a previous agreement with the bank's board of directors. This high commissioner shall have the right to examine into the management of the bank. He shall supervise the issuance of bank notes and shall see that the previous of the concessions are strictly observed. The High Commissioner shall sign every note or fix thereto his seal. He shall be charged with the supervision of the relations between the bank and the imperial treasury. He shall take no part in the administration or transaction of the banking business, but he shall always have the right to attend the meetings of the censors.
Islam, brother. Let me say this real quick.
Imperial treasury.
Why did I highlight Imperial Treasury?
Mhm. Between.
Because that's exactly what we're gonna name it. Continue, brother.
Oh, okay. The Sharifian government shall appoint one or two deputies, commissioners, who shall especially charged with the supervision of the financial transaction of the treasury with the bank. Article 43. A set of rules defining the relations of the bank and of the Moorish government shall be framed by the special committee provided for in Article 57 and approved by the censors. Article 44. The bank, organized with the approval of the government of His Sharifian Majesty in the form of a corporation, shall be governed by the French law related thereto. Article 45.
But who approved it though? Who approved the bank?
The Sharifian Majesty.
Sharifian
The
Majesty.
Sharific Majesty, right? And it shall be governed by the French law relative thereto.
Mm-hmm.
You see why the whole Constitution thing about France and all that is what it is. The French have been intimately involved, not necessarily in the best of ways either, but it doesn't change the competency in the articles that now they want to change because preside means that the Sultan has absolute sovereign authority and he cannot have it. He must be a fly on the wall in all matters
Mm.
because without that, I cannot control the prime minister. See, this is Jermaine Diaz Spencer talking. Continue, brother.
Article 45. Auctions instituted in Morocco by the bank shall be brought before the consular court of the defendant or before the jurisdiction of Morocco, in accordance with the rules of competence established by the Sharifian treaties and firmans. Auctions instituted in Morocco.
Actions. You're saying auctions, but it's
Oh,
actions.
actions. I don't know why I keep saying auctions. Actions instituted in Morocco against the bank shall be brought before a special tribunal consisting of 3 consular magistrates and 2 associates. The diplomatic body shall each year arrange the list of magistrates, associates, and substitutes.
What is the Morris? Question for the floor. What is a diplomatic body?
The three
See
branches of
what?
government, correct?
What was that?
Would it be the three branches of government, correct?
Incorrect. Someone else want to give it a shot? Let's try it again.
WRC.
No, no. I need you guys to pay. That's why I ask these questions.
The
I
diplomatic
asked a question about something that I just covered, Morris.
body.
Let's come back over here.
While y'all doing that, I'm gonna run use the restroom real quick.
What happened here? Where's the? Okay, there we are. Where is the American legation located?
Tangier.
And what? Yeah, it is in Tangiers, but what is the district called?
What, the Legation Institute?
Morris, we got to work. We got to pay attention. The
The
diplomatic
Lega-
body.
okay.
The
The
diplomatic body.
diplomatic
That's
mission.
why I asked, because I know I just covered it and I was wanting to see if people were paying attention. The diplomatic body, I'll say it again. Think about Washington, D.C.
Good.
Washington, D.C. Sorry, brother. Someone has something to say? Oh, okay. Washington, D.C. is a diplomatic body for the United States. So within that diplomatic body, you have a bunch of embassies. You got the Chinese embassy, you got the French embassy, you got the Spanish embassy, you got the Italian embassy, you got the Nigerian embassy, you got all these embassies. Yes or no? Are you guys familiar with that?
Yes.
Anyone else can affirm that? Okay, well, in case you didn't know, that's what's going on at DC. Remember, that's the real United States, the 10 square miles, whatever, according to the Act of Congress of 1871. The Empire of Morocco had its own. That's where they get the idea from the diplomatic body in Tangier, where all the legations had a diplomatic post. The American legation, the German legation, Spanish legation, so on and so forth. All that existed within the diplomatic body of Tangiers, which is a diplomatic post where all the foreign countries that belongs to the Sultan congregated, if you will. Right, that's where they all met. Each country had its own legation in the diplomatic body. Understood? You understand better now?
Yes, sir. So,
That's what the diplomatic body is. So
mm,
I'll be doing that throughout. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna ask, does anyone, because I want this is a class, right? So it's not talking. We're teaching here, and part of learning is to go back and ask questions that was just covered to test your if you're paying attention, right? Okay, brother Buck, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, good. You continue.
Okay. This tribunal shall apply to such cases the rules of law, procedures, and competence established by the French legislation in commercial matters. Appeals from judgments pronounced by this tribunal shall be taken to the federal courts of law,
Hussein.
Lausanne, whose decision shall be final.
So who will we have to work with regarding the banking system? The French government.
French legal.
You see, get out of your feelings. This is business.
Exactly.
I'm not too excited about it myself, but that we got to follow what the treaty says.
Yep.
But let me have a conversation with Mr. Emmanuel Macron, which is exactly my same age, by the way. Let's have a conversation and let's see how that goes. See, they're going to want to avoid that. They don't want me and him sitting at the same table. Oh, I'll get him straight. Continue, brother.
Article 46. In case of dispute over the clauses of the concessions or litigations arising between the Moorish government and the bank, the difference shall be referred without appeal or recourse to the Federal Court of Lausanne. All disputes arising between the shareholders and the bank in regards to the enforcement of the bylaws or by reason of the corporate business shall likewise be referred without appeal or recourse to the same court. Article 47. The bylaws of the bank shall be framed on the following basis by a special committee provided for in Article 57. They shall be approved by the censor and ratified by the General Assembly of Shareholders.
Paul, point of interest, real quick. First of all, you see that? Where else do you find that term? This is 1906. Where else do you find this term?
The United Nations.
United Nations.
Thank you very much. You see what I keep saying to you all? You'll find a lot of language that's in the treaty that's in the United Nations. United Nations is based on Moroccan law, boys.
Mhm.
But what I was going to say is this. There's a brother on Facebook who had been hounding me about the Moorish State Bank, the Moroccan State Bank. I don't believe that anyone on this call, including myself, are bankers. So we're reading this, we're learning, but not um with that skill set point of view or viewpoint, if that makes sense.
We
What am I
do
saying?
we do have some melanated bankers.
That's what we do. Not only do we have Moorish protege bankers that may own banks and other uh, financial institutions, but we have those who are in actual, as a career, work for Wall Street. I understand economic and financial reforms. That's who we put in charge of the establishing the state bank. They have to read this tree, understand what is being stated here, and implementing. That's why the Moroccan State Bank hasn't been enacted yet or can't be enacted yet because none of us know how to put that together. None of us are bankers. Plus, we haven't completed the decolonization process. So this falls under economic liberty without any inequality, right? So upon decolonization, when we reset the minds of the people, where the average banker, black banker guy comes to it to say, "Oh, that's us." Maybe I should choose the entire submission. Yes, you should, and bring your skill sets with you. As a matter of fact, we need you to establish the banking system. You see what I'm saying? We need our people, especially those who got the skill sets, the
We do have
proteges.
black
I
so-called.
know. I know. So guess what happens with that in that circumstance? I've said it before.
Hmm.
Just the same way you as an individual can choose the entire submission or repatriate or nationalize, you can also nationalize your assets.
Right.
So they can bring their bank into the under within under the protections of the empire and within the economic system of the empire,
Yeah. Change their name.
or they can keep the name. What they got to do is unregister and re-register. Unregister with the Secretary of State of the United States, with whoever, and register with the empire.
Right.
Because the bank could be the Johnson Family Bank. Okay, keep the name. It's all good. But now if it says American Bank, then yeah, you got to change that. This ain't no American Bank over here. Moroccan Bank. But see, it will be attached to the Moroccan, the Moroccan State Bank. See, the Moroccan State Bank is a central bank. So it's like the Federal Reserve is a central bank, and all the banks within that system report to the Federal Reserve. Each Federal Reserve in whatever district, I think there's like 10 of them in each district. One in Chicago, one in New York, one in LA, so on and so forth. And every bank reports to those banks. That's what the central bank does. That's where they get the idea from. They just called it the Federal Bank, the Federal Reserve, to make it seem governmental, but it's actually a private bank owned by the Jews,
Right.
right? So, but this in this case is going to be actually a government bank, Moroccan state banks. And if it's a private bank, fine. Guess who's going to own it anyway? The Moors, right? But no, it should be attached to the empire because that's what the treaty says. But my point being, though, is that that's where our people come in that got those skill sets to help establish the banking system, the economic and financial reforms. But remember, we have to first establish the administrative, then judicial, educational, and then economic, financial, and then the military reforms. Remember the six different reforms that we have to establish in that order. All right, brother, continue.
Article 48. The General Constituent Assembly of the corporation shall fix the place where the meeting of the shareholders and the sessions of the board of directors shall be held. The latter, however, shall have the faculty of meeting at any other city if it deems it expedient. The office of the manager of the bank shall be at Tangier. Article 49. The bank shall be administered by a board of directors consisting of as many members as there are part in the initial capital. The directors shall have the most extensive powers for the administration and management of the corporations. They shall especially appoint the managers, assistant managers, and members of the commission indicated in Article 54, as well as the managers of branches and agencies. The employee of the company shall be recruited so far as possible from among the citizens, subjects, or proteges of the several powers which have taken part in subscribing the capital.
You see that?
Yes.
Citizens, subjects, or proteges. That's what was in the Constitution, citizens and proteges. No,
Mhm.
citizens and subjects. So then they amended the word subject and just left citizen. The U.S. Constitution, that is. But who are the citizens? The Americans. Or, not necessarily Americans, the real British, the real Americans, the real whatever foreign country. Who are the subjects? Those are the ones who had become naturalized in those jurisdictions, and the proteges as well. That would be the Moors. You see, it doesn't tell you directly, but you got to know what you're looking at to understand what's being stated here. But those are the employees, and like it says, of the several powers which have taken part in subscribing the capital, the several powers. Well, the several powers, all the European powers, all those European powers have naturalized Moors in their jurisdiction as Moorish subjects, ipso jure Moorish subjects, according to the expatriation document with Hoffman Phillip. Correct? All right, brother, continue.
Article 50. The directors who shall be appointed by the General Assembly of shareholders shall be nominated by the group subscribing the capital. The first board shall remain 5 years in office. At the expiration of this period, there shall be a renewal at the rate of 3 members annually. The the order of outgoing directors shall be determined by lot. They may be re-elected on the constitution of the corporation. Each subscribing group shall have the right to nominate as many directors as it shall have subscribed entire parts, but such groups shall not be compelled to select candidates of their own nationality. The subscribing group shall not retain their right of nominating directors when the latter are superseded or re-elected, unless they can prove that they still have in their possession at least one half of the share conferring that right upon them.
Pause real quick. You see, um, but such groups shall not be compelled to select candidates of their own nationality. That means what that means is that all nationalities are welcome. You just ain't choose one of your own nationality.
Right.
So it's a it's a shared cooperation. But who gets 51% of the proceeds?
Right.
The the empire, Morocco. All right.
And
50.
that's a good thing too when they can't pick their own nationality. So they have to pick somebody that's competent to be able to do the work that they desire.
Correct. And by the way, sovereignty and independence, integrity of domains, and economic liberty without any inequality, that's not just limited to the Sultan and the empire.
Mm-hmm.
That's also that's also recognized for the foreign powers. They have their sovereignty and independence. They have their integrity of domains, and they shall also have their economic liberty without any inequality. Meaning that inequality meaning there cannot be any um what's the word I'm looking for? Favoritism for one country to have to be the one to have more money than the other, or more financial gains from the empire than the other. They all shall have the same equal opportunity, if that makes sense. All right, continue.
In a case whereby reasons of this provisions, a subscribing group should be no longer in a position to nominate a director, the General Assembly of Shareholders shall make a direct nomination. Article 51. Each of the following institutions, the Bank of the German Empire, the Bank of England, the Bank of Spain, and the Bank of France, shall, with their government's approval, appoint a censor for State Bank of Morocco.
They all come under the State Bank of Morocco. They must appoint a censor. Or we got to look up what a censor is. But um, clearly, it's clearly stating with expressed language that the Bank of England, the Bank of Spain, France, right, with
Mhm,
their government's approval. See, their governments have to approve it, which of course they will, because it's to their benefit. Appointed censor for the State Bank of Morocco.
mhm.
All right, continue, bro.
The censors shall remain in office 4 years. The outgoing censors may be reappointed. In the case of death or resignation, the institution which had appointed the former incumbent shall fill the
Incumbent,
vacant
incumbent, incumbent.
incumbent shall fill the vacancy, but only for unex, the unexpired term of the vacated office. Article 52. The censors who shall exercise their mandate by
Pause right there, real quick, brother.
yes,
Let's do this. What is a censor? A censor is a person or entity that examines materials like books, films, news to suppress or remove content deemed okay. That's that as a verb. Let me see. Censor in banking. Often called financial censorship. No, now they're looking at financial censor. Censor. Okay, we have to go. We got to do a little deeper dive to figure out what censor is. We'll do that another time. Let's continue, bro.
Article 52. The censors who shall exercise their mandate by virtue of this act of the signatory powers shall, in the interest of the latter, see that the bank is efficiently operated and ensure the strict observance of the clauses of the concessions and of the statutes. They shall see that the regulations governing the issuance of notes are preciously fulfilled and shall supervise
Precisely, precisely fulfilled. It's got
precisely
to be
fulfilled,
precise.
yes, precisely fulfilled and shall supervise the operations tending to put the monetary situations on a sound basis. But they shall never, under any pretext, interfere in the conduct of business or in the internal administration of the bank. Each of the censors shall be empowered to examine at all times the bank accounts and to call for information either from the board of director or the manager's office with regards to the management of the bank and attend the meetings of the board of directors, but only in an advisory capacity. The four censors shall meet in Tangier in the discharge of their duties at least once every 2 years at a time to be fixed by them. Other meetings at Tangier or elsewhere may take place if three of the censors should deem it. The four censors shall draw up in common accord an annual report, which shall be annexed to that of the Board of Directors. The Board of Directors shall transmit without delay a copy of such report to each of the government signatory to the Act of the Conference. Article 53. The censors, emoluments, and traveling expenses shall be fixed by the Committee on Bylaws. They shall be paid directly by the banks charged with their nomination, and the amount reimbursed to these institutions by the State Bank of Morocco. Article 54. To assist the manager's office and committee shall be established at Tangier, the members of which shall be chosen by the Board of Directors, without distinction of nationality, from among the notables residing at Tangier and holding shares of the bank. This committee, which shall be presided over by one of the managers or assistant managers, shall give its advice on questions of discounts and opening of credit accounts.
So these, the committee which shall be presided over by one of the managers, so one of the managers shall preside over that committee.
Mm-hmm.
In normal English language definition, what does that mean?
Normal
What does it mean for managers to preside over the committee?
to be in charge, to take over, to
Have authority over.
yeah, by authority. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's but in our constitution, preside means something else.
Mhm.
It means you're just there until called upon. I have to highlight this stuff because it's important.
Yeah.
Continue, brother.
It shall transmit a monthly report on these various subjects to the Board of Directors. Article 55. The capital of which the amount shall be fixed by the special committee designated in Article 57 shall be not less than 15 million francs, nor more than 20 million francs. Yeah, francs. Francs, no more than 20 million francs, and shall be of gold coin, and the shares thereof of the value of 500 francs each shall be inscribed with the various gold coinages at a fixed rate of exchange as determined by the bylaws. Let me ask you a question. Francs, when they say francs, like that 500, they just say 500 francs. Is that like the same as dollars? That's different, huh?
There's a different value
Different
amount.
amount. Yeah. Okay. The said capital may thereafter be increased at one or more times by a decision of the General Assembly of shareholders. The subscription to the increased capital shall be reserved for all shareholders without distinction of groups in proportion to their individual holdings. Article 56. The initial capital of the bank shall be divided into as many equal parts as there are participants among the powers rep- represented at the conference. To this end, each power shall designate a bank which shall exercise either for itself or for a group of banks the above specified right of subscriptions, as well as the right of nominations of the directors as provided in Article 50. Any bank selected as head of a group may, with its government's authorizations, be superseded by another bank of the same country. States wishing to avail themselves of their rights of subscription must notify such intention to the royal government of Spain within a period of 4 weeks from the signature of this act by the representative of the powers. Two parts, however, equal to those reserved to each of the subscribing groups, shall be assigned to the consortium of banks signatory of the contract of June 12, 1904, in compensation for the sessions which shall be made by the consortium to the state banks of Morocco. 1. Of the rights specified in Article 33 of the contract. Number 2. Of the right inscribed in Article 32, paragraph 2 of that of the contract concerning the available balance of the customs receipt with the express reservations of the general pre, pre, preferential right to the aggregate proceeds of customs granted to bondholders by Article 11 of the same contract. Article 57. Within a period of 3 weeks from the time of the closing, the subscriptions notified by the royal government of Spain to the powers interested, a special committee composed of delegates appointed by the subscribing groups as provided in Article 50 for the appointment of directors shall meet with a view to elaborating the bylaws of the bank. The General Constituent Assembly shall meet 2 months after the ratification of this act. The functions of such special committee shall cease upon the organization of the corporation. The special committee shall fix the place of its meetings. Article 58. No modification shall be made in the bylaws except on the motions of the board of directors and with the advice of consent of the censors and the Imperial High Commissioner. Such modifications must be voted by a 3/4 majority, either present or represented of the General Assembly of Shareholders.
Islam Noble. And that ends chapter 3,
Mm-hmm.
which is the State Bank of Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind
You're late.
that many of those provisions are outdated. They're not enforceable today,
Right.
right? Most of which was dealing with the 1904 bank loan and uh, all those all the financial and economic issues that took place based on the Moroccan crisis, which was in 1905.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're in 2026. um, Basically, right? Next month is 2026. Um, so that's not something that we would need to um enforce. However, the establishment of the bank, it still stands. Certain provisions may not, but most of which do stand. Which the main one is the establishment of it and the governance of it by the Moorish government or Sharifian government, however you want to put it, because that's what they said. Not what I said is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
So we're supposed to have a central bank in Morocco. Where is it? Right where the Moors at, in a shallow grave. It's uh, it's definitely a tale of David and Goliath. We got a long way to go.
And point of privilege.
Hmm.
Okay, you know how the percentages were back then, right? Okay, like they owe us a certain percentage of certain
Hmm.
goods and stuff, like 12% for this and different percentages. Well, back then that percentage was then, and isn't that different? Like now, percentages and what they owe percentage wise is higher now, right? Or would it be remain the same?
That's a good question. Um,
Because finances went up, everybody makes
mhm.
more money,
Inflation and all that stuff needs to be
inflation. Yeah,
considered. Yeah.
all that should be considered, with the
Mhm.
growing of times and you know, and all that. Inflation's everything. All that should be increased. It shouldn't be. I mean, because if you give a person a percentage from way back then, now they gonna boy, you talking about being happy. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like they just getting over on you. So
And
each
then also keep in mind that this is before the 1933 thing. This is during the time of the dollars and the currencies being backed by gold and silver. That's why you see us talking about gold and silver.
right, right,
So it's a whole other time now. We got cryptocurrency now, bro, for crying
right,
out loud.
right.
Would
Mhm.
we accept cryptocurrency? Why not?
Why
We
not?
accept, we accept it all. So
Yeah.
that question is for the competent Moorish proteges who are uh, heavily involved in the banking system with full experience.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
yeah,
I'm not
and
sure how to go about that, but that's where uh, I'm not a know-it-all.
yeah, but
I
I know
love working. Go ahead, bro.
one thing. Me personally, uh, I wouldn't let them get with the growing of time, get away with the growing of times, percentage wise. Everything went up since then, so they percentage should go up.
But yeah, I mean, I get that. That's what I'm saying. So, but we still need the skill set to uh
Right,
tend to that.
right.
We're not just gonna um
Speculate on that right now.
speculate. Well, we weren't at. Let's allow the competent minds to deal with that.
Right.
One thing that I understand is that some of the um some of the signatories have taken their name off the signature. They have taken their signature, I should say, off of the treaty, right? Except for the United States. The United States still has their signature affixed to the treaty. What does that mean? What is the difference between them and, let's say, I think Great Britain was one of the powers who relinquished, right? Remember, this is what was being discussed in the
Oh yeah.
France versus United States. So what is
Right.
the difference? See,
Well,
Great Britain is still in Morocco. Now listen
right.
to me. Now listen to me. Great Britain is still in Morocco. They still come under the sovereign authority, which means that you still have to adhere to the Act of Algeciras. Doesn't mean that your signature that you took it off. That don't mean nothing. You still have to adhere to it.
Right.
That is the preemptory norms of international law about customs and usage.
Right.
Right. So now when they have to come back into the fold of the treaty, they now come in with the current rate. Did you hear what I said?
Mm-hmm.
They now come in at the current rate, whereas the United States, their signature has been affixed since 1906, so they locked in that 1906 rate. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I do.
So
Mhm.
they locked in the 1906 rate, but those who took their signature off, they're now subject to the new rate, the new
New.
updated current rate. That I know. That I can answer that question, but in terms of how do we go about handling that business, leave that up to the Moorish proteges who got the skill sets.
Right.
Okay, so now let's go on with another reader for chapter 4, so we can complete this fourth chapter, and then on to some other points of interest. Rashid, you want to read, or someone else, anyone? And if not, you can go ahead, Buck.
I'll
Okay.
read
All right.
chapter
Okay,
4,
Buck.
a declaration concerning a better return of taxes and the creation of new revenues. Article
That's y'all
59.
favorite article. That's y'all favorite chapter right here. Now, let's talk about it. Let's go.
Article Article 59. As soon as the tertib shall have been put into regular operation with regard to more subjects, The representatives of the power at Tangier shall subject their citizens, subjects, and proteges in the empire to the application thereof. But it is understood that this tax shall not be applied to foreign subjects except A, under the conditions stipulated by the regulations of the diplomatic body at Tangier on November the 24th of 1903, B, at places where it shall effectively be collected from Moorish subjects, the consular authority shall retain a certain percentage of the receipts of the tax they collect from those subject to their jurisdiction to cover the cost of tax bills and collection. The rate of such percentage shall be fixed by mutual agreement between the Moxen and the diplomatic body at Tangier. Article 60. In accordance with the right granted by Article 11 of the Madrid Convention, foreigners shall have the right to acquire property throughout the Sharifian Empire, and His Majesty the Sultan shall issue to his administrative and judicial officers such instructions as may be necessary for them not to refuse the registration of deeds without lawful cause. Subsequent transfer, either by deed between living parties or by death, shall continue without hindrance. In the
Pause right
ports
there.
open,
Hold
okay,
on, back up. Is it back up? Let's back up. We talked about it earlier. So what is it? So in accordance, so all right, Article 11 of the Madrid Convention. They didn't want to strike that from the record. They wanted to strike Article 15 from the record that gives us back our nationality. And that was an attempt by the United States and the Kingdom of Morocco in 1959. No, 56, 59. I think it's 59. But you're not gonna bother. Let's not bother Article 11 because Article 11 of the Madrid Convention gives us right to property. Then in Article 60 of the Act of Algeciras, which is the next treaty, it doubles down on the so-called right. In accordance with the right granted by Article 11 of the Madrid Convention, foreigners, United States, France, Germany, Great Britain, etc., foreigners shall have the right to acquire, not own, acquire property throughout the Sharifian Empire, and His Majesty the Sultan shall issue to his administrative and judicial officers such instructions as may be necessary for them not to refuse the registration of deeds, because the Moors might just refuse it. See, we weren't having it even back then without lawful cause. So we were just being belligerent and just we're not doing it.
Yeah,
Right? But this is the power and authority that we once had.
not happening.
That's what the Moors were saying. So the
Yeah,
Sultan had to say, hey man, y'all can't just be refusing the registration of these deeds without a lawful cause now.
yes.
Islam. But you see, this is what I'm talking about. Look how they spelled Moxon, by the way, with a G. When we just read it, we just looked it up, it was with a K. So
Yeah.
the Act of Algeciras spells it with a G. I think I've also seen it with a K. So I say stick with the Constitution, K. But if you want to say it with a G, it doesn't really matter. You can go either way because it all means the same. However, and we'll touch on that as soon as we can. But back to the point. You see,
Mhm.
they have the right to acquire property, not own property. They don't just own property. They can buy because that means that's revenue for who? The empire. And then we'll read about the real estate taxes. Continue, brother. In the ports.
in the ports open to commerce and within a radius of 10 kilometers around such ports, His Majesty the Sultan, generally and without it being necessary henceforth for foreign subjects to obtain a special permission for each purchase of property, now grants the consent required by Article 11 of the Madrid Convention. At Zars el Kabir, Arzelia, Zamor, and eventually in other towns of the coast or the interior, the general authorization stated above is likewise granted to foreigners, but only for purchases within a radius of 2 kilometers around those towns. Whenever foreigners may have acquired property, they will be permitted to erect buildings in compliance with regulation and usage
Pause
before
right there. You see,
authorizing.
let me say this real quick. In the ports open to commerce and within a radius of 10 kilometers around such ports, His Majesty the Sultan generally and without it being necessary henceforth for foreign subjects to obtain a special permission for each purchase of property now grants the consent required by Article 11. Now we do it. This is so they gave it to him in 1880, and they're just actually granting it now in 1906.
Point of privilege. I just
See,
want to say something.
this is what they was called real quick. This is what the Europeans was also calling for. It's like, man, you're not adhering to Article 11 of the Madrid Convention. Okay, we'll do it now. Yeah, y'all follow? Go ahead, brother.
Right. And I just want to say, because I didn't get a chance to say it a while ago, but in the act of the Treaty of Madrid, it's a multilateral agreement. So in order to change anything, you're gonna need all the signatory powers to come together to change anything. Anyway, I you.
Well, first we got to decolonize and reassert ourselves as the sovereign authority over these treaties, and then summon them all to then even pitch the idea.
No, I'm just
And
saying when the U.S. and Mohammed the Fifth want to try to get rid of the Moors
oh, okay, yeah,
the repatriation back
like
to
the nationality from the. Well, you
right,
can't do that, and even if they came together to do that, that's a human rights violation, and that's repugnant to the preemptory norms of international law.
right. They can't do it.
There cannot be any derogation to that.
Right,
Period. So and then plus on top of that, he was the king, not even the sultan that wrote it. So
exactly.
two different offices.
Right.
Great, continue, bro.
Wherever foreigners may have acquired property, they will be permitted to erect buildings in compliance with regulation and usage. Before authorization, the execution of deeds for transferring property, the Qadi will have to satisfy himself of the validity of the title in conformity with Mohammedan law. The Moxen shall designate in each city and district specified in this article the Qadi who shall have charge of such verification. Article
Yes,
61.
indeed. Let's read that again. Before
The
authorizing
Moxen.
execution,
Okay, go ahead. No, you go ahead, sis.
authorizing execution of deeds for transferring property, right, from perhaps indigenous hands to foreign hands or between foreign hands. Before authorizing the execution of deeds for transferring property, the Qadi will have to satisfy himself of the validity of the title in conformity to nowadays what law? Moroccan law. You see, this is why we have a Qadi. Then it goes on to say the Moxen, Ampag Moxen. See, this is the reason why, like Ali Bamu. Ali Bamu is a indigenous ancient word. So why would I say state of Ali Bamu? State of is a modern Europeanistic corporate term. Doesn't it sound better to say Ali Bamu Moxen, which then aligns you with this authority? So the Ali Bamu Moxen that's overseeing Alabama, that's a Moorish territory. So Ali Bamu Moxen shall designate in each city, right, with and district specified in this article the Qadi who shall have charge of such verification. Wazir DJ Alexander, I hope you're listening. That's part of your duties as the Wazir. And I'm talking to all the Wazirs. It's the same concept for every Moxen. You're overseeing whatever territory you're taking over. So you have to designate a Qadi in each city to oversee the transferring of deeds. You see, the Sultan operated through the Moxen, not the state of. The treaty doesn't say state of Ampag. It says Ampag Moxen. Yes or no, Moors?
Yes, it does.
Okay. We have to align ourselves back with the ancient terminology, the pre-colonial terminology. Go ahead, brother.
Article 61. With a view to creating new resources for the Moxen, the conference recognizes in principle that a tax may be established on city buildings. A part
Uh-huh.
of the receipt,
Go ahead, go
a
ahead, go
part
ahead.
of
I'm just saying, uh-huh.
right,
Continue, please continue.
a part of the receipts thus realized shall be set aside for the requirements of municipal streets and hygiene, and generally for the expense of improvement and conservation of the cities. The taxes due from the Moorish or foreign owner, without distinction, the tenant or the holder of the key shall be responsible to the Moorish treasury.
Okay.
Regulations issued jointly.
Hold on. I'm sorry. The tax is due from the Moorish or foreign or owner. What is the Moorish? Black man, are you listening? Black woman, are you listening? Sister, brother, that's you. You see how it says the
Regulations
Moorish?
issued.
You see how they just casually,
Yeah,
hold on, brother, I'll let you. You see how it just casually says
right,
the Moorish?
right.
Taxes due to the from the Moorish or foreign owner, without distinction. But the tenant or the holder of the key shall be responsible to the Moorish treasury.
Ain't no getting
So the
around it. You got to
Moorish
pay them
may owe the
taxes.
tax, huh?
Ain't no getting around it. You got to pay them taxes.
You got to pay the taxes. And that's what the Moors were complaining about back then. I did a class on that. The Europeans were upset with the Sultan because the Sultan put all the burden, the Moorish, all the burden that the Moors were bringing them on the Europeans, saying y'all deal with them. They don't want to pay taxes. They're acting belligerent, and so they were complaining. It was correspondence amongst between the Europeans, you know, complaining to one another about daggone Sultan putting this burden on us. It was hilarious. I don't know what I've been looking for, and I can't find that document. Excuse me, but we got to pay those taxes to who? The Moorish Treasury. But notice the term. I'm still going back to it. It doesn't say black. It doesn't. Well, let me not use that term. It doesn't say African American, Moorish American, Hebrew Israelite. It says Moorish, and Moorish means the black people. It's in the etymology dictionary. And more in the Britannica says in English usage, it means Moroccan. And the Etymon Online dictionary, more means black and Negro. Again, a bunch of fluff all in between and all these things, but at the end it says black. And same thing with the second paragraph, then it says Negro. This is us. This is us. And the
This was
treasury belongs to us. Go ahead, brother, with the regulations.
point of privilege. So this was
Okay.
implemented by the colonists, them knowing this directly and implementing this.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's part of what we're gonna read after this if we can finish it in time. If not, we'll pick it back up next week. But this treaty was drafted by the Europeans. In case you didn't know this, it wasn't the Moors who wrote this; it was the Europeans. They gave it all back. They are the ones who gave it all back. But when they, in doing so, they also gave themselves favors. They solidified their position. It's like, okay, we'll bring them, we'll write the document, we'll bring the Moors back, but we also got to make it to where they can't just run over us. And we still can maintain certain rights, such as the right to acquire property. Let's reaffirm it from Article 11 of the Treaty of Madrid, and so on and so forth. There should be no inequality, economic inequality amongst us. There should be equality amongst us. No favoritism, which is basically dealing with the most favored nation clause. See, the most favored nation clause caused problem because it was like, okay, you're a favored nation and you're not amongst the Europeans. So now they transition from the most favored nation clause, right, to economic liberty without any inequality. Y'all follow what I'm saying? This is where that's coming from. Okay, continue, brother.
Sir.
Regu- Go ahead. Somebody's going to say something.
No, I was just saying, go ahead and
Okay.
continue to read. the tax
Okay.
regulations issued?
Regu- Regulations issued jointly by the Sharifian government and the diplomatic body at Tangier shall establish the rate, its method of collection and application, and shall determine the quota of revenue thus created, which shall be devoted to the expense of improvement and conservation of the cities. At Tangier, this quota shall be turned over to the International Sanitary Council, which shall decide as to its use until the creation of a municipal organization. Article 62, His Sharifian Majesty, having decided in 1901 that the Moorish officials who collect the agricultural taxes should no longer receive either the Sakra or the Manu, the conference is of the opinion that this rule should be made general so far as is possible. Article
Okay, right.
63.
Hold on, right there. Let's double back. His Sharifian Majesty having decided in 19, so his Sharifian Majesty way back in 1901 decided that the Moorish officials, what happened to that? So the Moorish officials who collect the agricultural taxes. How many times have we seen the word Moorish in here thus far? But this says Moorish officials. We were government officials. We ran. That's why Noble Ali said that we have to get back to the affairs of men and women, or take our seat in the affairs of men and women, because we fell out of this. So the Moorish officials who collect the agricultural taxes and should no longer receive whatever the Sokra and Muna is. But the real point of the matter is, I'm highlighting the terminology. Moorish officials. That's us. We are the officials because we are the founders and true possessors of the Moroccan Empire. So, just as well, who's the officials of the Moroccan Empire? Us. Let's not forget that. Continue, brother.
Article 63, the Sharifian delegates have stated that Habu property or certain state property, notably buildings of the Moxon, occupied at a rental of 6% are held by persons subject to foreign jurisdiction without regular title or by virtue of contracts subject to revision. The conference desires of
Desirous.
remedying desirous of remedying this state of affairs, charges the diplomatic body at Tangier to solve these two questions equitably in accord with the special commissioner, whom His Sharifian Majesty may be pleased to designate to that effect.
Pause
Article
real quick.
64. Yes.
Let's go back up. The Sharifian delegates have stated that Habu property or certain what property? State property. I wonder if that's where Beanie Siegel get it from. Okay. Let's take a look at a Habu property. Capital of Georgia. Let's look at images. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Ah, I need an image. What are you doing? What happened? What in the world just happened, Morris? Oh, I think it's over here. Okay. What happened? It's weird. Okay, here we are. I'm trying to find a picture. So you see, what do we see here? When I click on the picture, it's not giving. Okay, there we are. Look at that. You know, you see this fence all around this building. If you visit Atlanta, right? If you visit Atlanta, go down there and just, especially at night, just drop around the perimeter, and you'll be left with a broken heart because what you'll see on the streets in front of, across the street, but in its surrounding perimeters is homeless Moors with big what do you call them? Those barrels, hands or whatever, um, burning fire, trying to keep themselves warm because they're homeless, sleeping right there on the streets, right in front of a Habu property, state building, of which they owe them. What do they owe them? 6%. This is hard to swallow. This is hard to swallow. Our people are owed 6% for occupying these buildings, but yet they're not getting those payments. They don't know that those payments even exist, and they're sleeping on the streets right in front of it. A building that their ancestors built, a building that once upon a time it was Moors that occupied those buildings. Now you've got those same Moors sleeping on the daggone streets, and they owe them 6%. It's heartbreaking. Continue, brother.
So you gotta put the screen back up or something.
What screen? Where was
Where
I?
we at? Okay, okay. We're at same my same
It was
but I
past
think I
this. It
read
was you're
state
right here.
property.
You're at
Okay, right
54.
here. Okay, 64. The conference takes formal note of, of the proposition. Wait, making this okay, formulated by the Sharifian delegates on the subject of taxes to be created on certain trades, industries, and professions, if, as the result of the collection of such taxes from more subjects, the diplomatic body at Tangier should deem it advisable to extend the same to those under foreign jurisdiction. It is hereby specified that the said taxes shall be exclusively municipal. Article 65. The conference adhered to the proposition proposed by the Moorish delegation to create, with the assistance of the diplomatic body, a stamp tax on contracts and notarial acts brought before adults, b a maximum transfer tax of 2% on sales of real estate, c a statistical and weighing tax of a maximum of 1% ad valorem on merchandise transported by coasting vessels. D, a passport fee to be collected from more subjects. E, eventually, wharfage and lighthouse dues, the proceeds of which shall be devoted to harbor improvement.
Pause right there, real quick.
Article
What?
66.
Pause real quick. What did I highlight? See, there's numbers associated with this. So let's say 2%. See, here's the thing, good brother Buck, that I just thought about in looking at this. The the percentage doesn't really matter. The percentage is the percent. What matters is the dollar amount. It doesn't matter if it's 2% yesterday or 2% 10 years from now. It's keeping up with inflation. But let's say 2%, right? Think about this. I'm in Georgia. I cannot tell you how many real estate closings take place in Georgia. I can only assume on a daily basis, at the very least, I don't know, maybe 10,000. It's a lot to take place on a daily basis, a lot of real estate transactions. Let's say 1,000. Super conservative. Now, this could range from high rises to residential and everything in between. So average that out to, I don't know, 1 million. 2% of 1 million every daggone day. Children are playing rich. This is why they don't want you to know about the Moroccan nationality. This is what they owe every time that there's a real estate closing. They must. So you have a HUD settlement. Whenever you close on a deal, real estate deal, that you're issued a HUD settlement, which basically shows all the expenses of the transaction. What would be the very top of the line uh what's the word I'm looking for? Expense, if you will. That's not the proper term. That's not the term, but we can substitute that term with that term. The very first expense shall and will be this right here, the 2% sales tax owed to the Empire of Morocco. Everyone else after that gets paid. We get paid first. Then everyone else gets paid. You see how this works? That's how it's supposed to be. Because they don't own the land or the properties. They have acquired it, they hold it, but they don't own it outright. They never will. Because they will forever pay taxes on it. See, that's what they're doing to us. The empire doesn't have to charge you uh property tax, and the empire won't. But the empire will charge the foreigners property taxes because you never own it. See, they treat us as if we don't own it. That's why they give us property taxes, or they make us pay property taxes. As long as you're paying property taxes, you never own the property. Because the moment you go into default, the state takes it over. You see? But if there is no such thing as property taxes and you've paid off the house, then there's no other payments to be made to where you're being threatened with some sort of foreclosure or repo. Then you own it. Then you obviously clearly you own it outright. Well, that's what it's going to be for the Moroccans. They don't be no property taxes, but the foreigners will pay property taxes. You will never own. You could acquire, you can hold, but you can't own. And upon the purchase, you shall pay 2% on sales of real estate, which shall go to the imperial treasury. Moors, study the Act of Algeciras. Understand your authority, your power. This is the main. This document is a huge asset in our progression as a people through the empire. We have to treat it accordingly and understand that what's good for us is good for the Europeans as well. Don't get it twisted. The difference is that we get the bigger portion, the bigger part of the spoils. But it's economic liberty without any inequality that goes for us and them. It's not just us. Islam, continue, bro.
Article
66.
66. Merchandise of foreign origin shall temporarily be subject on entry into Morocco to special taxes amounting to 2.5% ad valorem. The whole proceeds of this special tax shall form a special which shall be devoted to the execution and the expenses connected with public works for the development of navigation and the general trade of the Sharifian Empire. The program of works and their order of priority shall be determined jointly by the Sharifian government and diplomatic body at Tangier. The surveys, estimates, plans, and specifications appertaining thereto shall be made by a competent engineer appointed by the Sharifian government jointly with the diplomatic body. This engineer may, if necessary, be assisted by one or more assistant engineers. Their salary shall be charged to the special fund. The special
Oh,
fund will be
real quick.
deposited.
Real quick. It's again, what is a diplomatic body? All right, but what does it say? Appointed by the Sharifian government, the surveys, estimates, plans, and specifications appertaining thereto shall be made by a competent engineer, appointed by the Sharifian government jointly with the diplomatic body. What does that mean? That means that that competent engineer could be of any nationality because that competent engineer is being appointed with by the Sharifian government with the diplomatic body. So if you're involved in the diplomatic body, that means you're involving all the other countries, states that hold their post within the diplomatic body, which means you're talking about different nationalities. You see, it's about economic liberty without any inequality. That means all nationalities have the equal right to participate within the great enterprise. We have to understand that this is not about selfishness. It's about sharing. just with the understanding, I'll say it again, we get 51% or more of it all. And the sovereign, the last say in everything. But we don't mind sharing with you. But this is what's the uh, these are what the circumstances call for based on the treaty. Continue, brother.
The special fund will be deposited with the State Bank of Morocco, which is to keep its accounts. Public contracts shall be awarded in the form and under the general terms prescribed by the regulations that the diplomatic body at Tangier is charged to frame, together with the representatives of His Sharifi Majesty. The Board of Awards shall consist of one representative of the Sharifian government, of 5 delegates of the diplomatic body, and one of the engineer. The award shall be given in favor of the bidder who, in conformity with specifications, may submit the bid offering the most advantageous, general terms. As for the sums yield by the special tax and collected at the custom houses in the district specified in Article 103 of the custom regulations, their expenditure will be determined upon the Moxon with the consent of the neighboring power in accordance with the clauses of this article. Article 67, the conference without detriment to the observation offered upon this point expresses the wishes that the export duties on the following merchandise be reduced as follows: percents: chickpeas 20%, corn 20, barley 50%, and wheat 34%. Article 68, His Sharifi Majesty will consent to increase from 6 to 10,000 the number of heads of cattle of the bovine species which each power shall have the right to export from Morocco. Such exportation may be effected through any custom house. If by misfortune there should be a scarcity of cattle in any particular district, His Sharifi Majesty shall have the right to temporarily forbid the exportation of cattle through the port or ports of that district. Such measures shall not exceed 2 years, nor shall it be applied at the same time to all the ports of the empire. It is further understood that the preceding provisions do not modify the other conditions for the exportation of cattle as fixed by previous firmaments. The conference expresses the additional wishes that a veterinarian inspection be organized as soon as possible at the seaports. Article
And by the
69,
way,
in accordance with
we've seen Furman's in there a couple of times. Furman means like a license. Continue.
Article 69, in accordance with the previous decisions of His Sharifi Majesty, and notably the decision of September the 28th, 1901, the transportation is allowed by coasting vessels between all parts of the empire of cereal, grains, vegetables, fruits, eggs, poultry, and in general of merchandise and animals of every kind of the Moroccan origin or not, except horses, donkeys, and camels, for which a special permit from the Moxon will be necessary. Such coasting trade may be carried on by vessels of every nationality without such articles being subjected to payment of the export duties, but subject to the special taxes and regulations relative thereto. Article 70, the rate of sojourn and anchorage dues levied on ships in Moorish ports being fixed by treaties with certain powers, the said powers and disposed to consent to a revision of such dues. The diplomatic body at Tangier is therefore charged to effect an agreement with the Moxon on the term of such revisions, which cannot, however, take place until after the improvement of the ports. Article 71.
Before you go to
The
Article
customs
71, whose ports is it? I
the
highlighted it.
Moorish port. Yeah.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say, Morris? We're all over the treaty. I don't know what to tell you. This is Moorish ports. So when yesterday in our conversation, in our discussion regarding the C-24 and our petition document, letter, um, some concerns raised regarding being able to prove who we are. I mean, it's in the treaty. And I understand those concerns because the world like to act like we don't exist. Yeah, well, it's right here. It's the Moorish ports. Like I said, all of them, all of the ports of the empire. It's beyond a it's without a doubt. The world knows Moor and Moorish means black people. Period. Let's just keep it simple and let's keep it honest, raw and honest. Black people are the Moors. Moors are the black people. It's just this what it is. It's the same way in Spanish. Negro, moreno. Negro means black, moreno means Moor. It's the same thing in Spanish. It's just is what it is. So when a Latino wants to be derogatory, they'll say negro, and with an with this little attitude thing with it too, negro, right? But when they want to be politically correct or polite or whatever the case might be, they'll say moreno, but they don't make a distinction as to who sold who out in the past. They just say all those people are Moors. We're the ones who put that on us. Oh, it was the Moors who sold us out. Yeah, well, the black man sold you out too. Are you gonna stop being black because of that? Because you still claim that color, that crayon color, despite the fact that blacks sold you out. And if you're trying to get away from it, it doesn't matter. You still check the box black for many years until now that you think you done got smart now, and you might think that you're Amaru Khan. And so you're this Amaru Khan Indian guy, and I'm not a Moor because the Moors sold us out. The foolishness of our people, the the perpetual division that we exercise amongst each other to keep us divided. We keep ourselves divided. Who was the colonist? Look in the mirror. In actuality, is you. We are colonizing ourselves. We can't get out of our own way. But these people, these folks, these foreign powers, they know the truth. They know who's who. It's the Moorish ports. You can say, well, I'm not that. I'm Indian. I'm Khan Indian. Okay, good luck with that because that's not found nowhere in the treaty. So you want to be emotional and about some so-called what you deem to be ancient culture or what your grandma told you, as if your grandma and your great grandmother weren't also miseducated. Grandma and great grandma don't necessarily know that they don't know the truth. If great grandma and great granddaddy and great granddaddy knew the truth, I guess well, perhaps we shouldn't be here then, should we? That means that it should have been solved in their generation. They don't know. Why we still oh, it's my and then this genealogy thing, or I did my DNA, the genealogy, my what they call that, the DNA testing thing, whatever. That stuff is westernized. Oh, I saw it in the dictionary. It says that it was applied to the copper colored people. I saw it in a map. I saw Amaru Khan on a map. I read a book that said Amaru Khan. But you're talking literature, you're not talking treaty. So what is our argument based in as it relates to colonialism and our fight with the United States? It is legal in nature. So literature is not going to solve the problem because the problem is not found in literature. That's where you find the programming is in literature. The power of the pen is not limited to the laws. It's also extends to once you have the power of the pen to write the laws, now you can extend it into the educational reforms. So then they start miseducating you, and the CIA writes books, and it gives the credit to someone else. And now the black man thinks he's a Mardu Khan because some book that he read said it, or some map that he saw. No, no, no. Let's talk treaty. Let's talk legal documents because our issue is legal in nature. So it requires some sort of a legal document to present to the world to prove your case. The proper legal argument, not an emotional argument or an argument based on some book that you read or what your grandma told you. I love Granny, man, but Granny don't know. If Granny and Granddaddy knew, they should have solved it long in their generation. But during their time, there was the Empire of Morocco. So our Granny and Granddaddy ain't telling you about the Empire of Morocco because they didn't know. They were taught to tell you that you were whatever else other than Moroccan. This is a message to all the so-called Indians and the Cherokees out there, the Amadu Khans. I've had many dialogues with them before. They don't get it. It's always this what grandma told me. No, what does the treaty say? Because that's admissible in the court of law to make our legal argument, to stand on a legal argument, beat them, which is not necessarily the court of law, it would be more of an advisory opinion. Coming to the round table with the United Nations, the G24, the Moors, and the United States or whoever other 12 signatories to say, according to these treaties, they're right. You got to give it up. Now, once we gain access to all the information, now we can start to sort out who's who and what's not and all this and that. But as of now, most of the information that you're getting, think twice if it ain't coming directly from the treaties, because the treaties is not based in emotions, it's not based on any vague anything. It's black and white. Either it is or it's not. It's a legal document. It's a contract, for crying out loud. You can't get away from a lease. You can't get away from a treaty. It's legally binding. So that's what we got to start looking at. The treaties, what does it say? Here it says Moorish ports. So that means we have ports. It doesn't say American ports or Amadu Khan ports or Cherokee ports or Lenni Lenape ports. Continue, brother.
Article 71. The customs storage dues shall be collected in all Moorish ports where there are adequate warehouses in conformity to the regulations existing or to be adopted in regard thereto by the government of His Sharifian Majesty in accord with the diplomatic body at Tangier. Article 72. Opium and keef will continue to be a monopoly of the Sharifian government. The importation of opium, specially intended for medicinal purposes, will, however, be allowed by special permits issued by the Moxen at the request of at the legation, the physician, or the apothecary importing the same. The Sharifian government and the diplomatic body shall jointly determine the maximum quantity which may be thus introduced.
Pause.
Article 7.
Back to this again. See, here we go again. This is why I asked earlier, what is the diplomatic body? I want y'all to get that through your heads because you'll see it constantly in this treaty, along with the legation and the Moxton. It was a relationship. So what does it say? First of all, opium and kif. What is kif? Marijuana. So will continue to be the monopoly of the Sharifian government, right? But yet, what happened? What happened under the crime bill? The crime bill of sleepy Joe Biden. A lot of brothers and sisters went to jail for Kif. Who was the prosecutor? Kamala, the Indian lady who says she's black. By the way, Indian means India. It's a country, not America. You know, Indians in America. The Indians are in India. They got a red dot on their forehead. Can we stop the foolishness? Anyway, so it's the monopoly of the Moors, but yet we're the ones going to jail for it and doing big time for it too. Three strikes and you out and all that foolishness. What else does it say? It says the importation of opium, especially intended for medicinal purposes, will, excuse me, however, be allowed by special permit issued by the Moxen at the request of the legation. So that means that America, United States, United States of America, whatever you want to call them, that's still America. It has nothing to do with you. That means that America, through their legation, got to what? Request the Moxon. Where's the legation though? In the diplomatic body. You got to start to see that relationship. So it says the importation of opium specifically, especially intended for medicinal purposes, will however be allowed by special permit. So there's a special permit issued by the Moxon at the request of the legation. So the legation got to request a special permit from the Moxon. The physician or apothecary importing the same. The Sharifian government, earlier it said the Moorish government, the Sharifian government and the diplomatic body shall jointly determine the maximum quantity which may be thus introduced. We control this, or at least are supposed to. So can we get out of our way? Can we stop with the lack of unity and the disharmony amongst us, the gossiping, foolishness, and all this and that, and coup d'etats and the lies and the fork tonguing and the BS? That's just all obstructionist behavior that's keeping us away from exercising our sovereign authority. Can we find a common ground? It's easy. I can give you a common ground. What's the common ground? Colonialism. Okay, so now we got that understood. What's required? Decolonization. Okay, well then, but how do we achieve that? Well, the absolute first prerequisite to accomplish decolonization is what? Somebody want to take a shot at it? What's required? Without this, you have nothing to complete the decolonization process. What's required? Amongst us as a people, what is required?
Unity.
Thank you.
Unity.
Thank you.
Yes,
Continue reading,
sir.
brother. Continue reading.
Article 73, the representatives of the power take note of the Sharifian government's intention to extend to tobacco of all kinds the monopoly existing in the case of snuff. They reserve the right of their citizens, subjects, and proteges to be duly indemnified for damages which the said monopoly may cause such of them as carry on a tobacco business established under the present system. In case no amicable agreement shall be reached, the damages shall be fixed by experts designated by the Moxon and the diplomatic body in conformity with the provisions governing exportation for public purposes. Article 74, the principles of awarding contracts on bids without
So I'm sorry, brother.
performance of national.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I didn't get to the mute enough,
Okay,
fast enough.
okay,
Ease up
that's
a
fine.
little bit because I'm gonna be pausing you and
Okay, no
breaking
problems.
things
No
down.
problems. So,
There's an absolute relationship. Here it is again between the Moxon and the diplomatic body. The damages shall be fixed by experts designated by the Moxon and the diplomatic body in conformity with the provisions governing exportation for public purposes. So Moxon and the diplomatic body had a serious relationship. So here's the thing. What did the diplomatic body become in modern times today? You better give me the answer. You better give me the answer. What did the diplomatic body become in today's modern time? You better give me the answer. I've said it several times. No pressure, though. No pressure. What did the
WRC.
diplomatic body? Huh?
The WRC.
You're close, but no.
The house.
What was that?
The house?
No.
Oh,
Nope. Nope. I've said it before. I just said it. I just asked y'all earlier, what is the diplomatic body? Okay.
A collective.
Go ahead.
I yield. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't hear you. You said a collective what? Don't get shy, bro. You said a collective something and then you went mute real quick. Because you're getting close. Okay.
Collective foreigners. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, but so let me walk you through it. A collective, a collection. So, okay, so the diplomatic body was a collection of all the, not a collection, but it was a diplomatic post. All the foreign countries were stationed at the diplomatic body. What does that look like in
The
modern times?
UN.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Moxen and the diplomatic body, as you keep seeing here, has this special relationship. Okay, well, the diplomatic body became the League of Nations in 1929. Then it was dismantled in 1944, and then in 1945 became the United Nations. So that relationship still exists. The Moxen and the United Nations. So replace diplomatic body with the United Nations. You follow what I'm saying? So the Moxen, the Moxen, the government of the empire, shall be in what? Shall have a similar relationship with the United Nations. This is what they are afraid of. What does it say in the preamble to the Constitution at the very end? May somebody read this for me, please? You, good brother, that's reading right now.
Okay. May the fez and the beret of the Moors symbolize a trusted partnership. The Secretary General of the United Nations, whereas the Moors may be humanity's last hope of peace.
Islam, do y'all want to amend that? That's a strategic statement within the preamble. May the fez and beret of the Moors symbolize a trusted partnership for the Secretary General of the United Nations, whereas the Moors may be humanity's last hope of peace. You got to reestablish the same relationship of the Moxen with the diplomatic body, with the Moxen or the empire, and the United Nations. Continue, bro.
Article 74. The principle of awarding contracts on bids without preference of nationality shall be applied to the framing of the monopoly of opium and key. The same rule would apply to the tobacco monopoly if created. Article 75.
So we
If the
also
occasion
had,
should arise to
I'm sorry,
modify,
brother, I caught you late. So we
no,
also
it's
had
okay.
a
It's okay.
monopoly on
It's
what
okay.
else? Tobacco.
Tobacco.
You know, like right up the street, there's a road in Augusta called Tobacco Road. Right? Bro, I can't make this stuff up. When I first read the Act of Algeciras, I was blown away. I was blown away. We even have a monopoly. Everything they are. After reading the Act of Algeciras, all you got to do is look at the United States and you'll be like, well, I'll be damned. They're doing everything we're supposed to be doing. Yes or no, Morris? Can you not see it now? The more you read it, the more you see it. Yes or no?
Indeed.
Continue, my good
Islam.
brother. Continue.
Article 75. If the occasion should arise to modify any of the provisions of this declaration, the Moxen and the diplomatic body at Tangier shall reach an understanding on this point. Article 76. In all the cases provided for by the present declaration where the diplomatic body shall be called upon to intervene, except in concerns Article 64, 70, and 75, the decision shall be reached by a majority of the votes.
And that concludes the read of the Act of Algeciras, the two chapters, these chapter 3, chapter 4. Next week we'll go into chapter 5 and chapter 6 to conclude the full read. But um and it's already 10 o'clock, so we ended it right on time. We're getting ready to close, but um, the Moors have mentioned earlier when I asked about the diplomatic body. You guys, for some reason, are seeing the WRC as that. I can't be mad at you for that. Um, Keep in mind that the convention, um, where is it? Right here, right here. Convention in the Empire of Morocco, the Wazir Regional Council. Um, this is basically the United Nations Charter. It was copy paste plug and played from the United Nations Charter. When you give it a full read, even halfway through, you can tell. Um, it might be an idea. Um, it's similar. It kind of is similar to the diplomatic body, but from the perspective that these are our Moorish states, not foreign states. So maybe never mind. It kind of struck me as an idea because you guys kept mentioning it. Um, as the answer to what I was asking about what the diplomatic body is. So it's important to understand the history, the backstory. Um, what like is an example? Okay, that's before we close out because I didn't pull it up for that. This is Moxon. Read the word. Read what this means, good brother.
Moxon.
Just
Okay.
start right here. Start right here. Oh, way down here.
Is the governing institution in Morocco and is pre 1957 um,
Tunisia. Tunisia.
Tunisia, Tunisia, centered on the monarch and consisting of royal nobilities, top-ranking military personnel, landowners, security service bosses, civil servants, and other well-connected members of the establishment. The term Moxon is also popularly used in Morocco as a word meaning state or government. The section need. Oh, you want to go down? Okay. The word
Um,
Moxon.
no, right here. Here. Or Moxon in Morocco.
Moxon in
There's this
Morocco.
part.
Yeah. The Magazine is a very ancient notion in Morocco. It roughly coincides with the notion of the feudal state pretending the French
Predating.
protectorates.
No, predating. Predating.
Wait,
Feudal
I ain't
states
seen all that.
predating the French protectorate. You see it? Right here. You guys said pretending, but predating.
Okay. Predating. Okay, let me read that over. The Moxon is a very ancient notion in Morocco. It roughly coincides with the notion of the feudal state predating the French protectorate in Morocco. Uh, the
Bilad.
land of the
Bilad.
Moxon.
But
Oh,
hold on, that's
what you
Bilad.
spelling?
So this, hold on, brother, we gotta
Bilad.
pronounce it. Yeah, Bilad al
Okay.
Maxin.
Bilad al-Moxon, the land of
Mm-hmm.
the Moxon, was the term for the areas under central government authority, while those areas still run by tribal authority were known as Bilad al-Siba, Siba,
Bilad as
the
Bilad al Siba.
Bilad al-Siba, the land of dissonance. Hubert Luti, who served as Resident General of Morocco from 1912 until 1925 during the era of the protectorate, was a fervent prominent of indirect colonial colonization,
Colonization.
colonization, especially in Berber speaking areas. La, La, Laiule maintained the role of the Moxon and even enhanced it by giving important role to local notables such as Damai El Glaoui. Located notables acted as a relay between the population and the French authorities.
That's just a quick insight on what the Moxin is. It's pretty short. There's not a whole lot to it. It's just really the government, the state or the government, states or governments within the Empire of Morocco. No different than our internal states. That's why we go with the term Moxen rather than just state of. So these are things that we need to understand and start to know and learn about ourselves. Because this
Point
is
privilege.
exactly the information that they're hiding. Yes, Sayaraha, what you got?
Can you pull that up a little bit so I can screenshot that next paragraph? That's pretty interesting too. I just while you're at it, I just
The
want to
post
screenshot
which paragraph? The post.
the
Okay,
post Arab spring.
read
That's
it, read
pretty.
it. You
Oh,
read
yeah,
it.
I'll
Go
read
ahead,
it.
sister.
I'll read it.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
in the all
Break it
right,
down.
post Arab spring. In the post Arab spring era, the Moxon system has been forced to evolve in order to adapt to calls for reform, but has continued to operate. Whilst the 2011 constitutional reforms in Morocco um, nominally, no, that's it right.
Nominally,
Nominally handed more power to elected officials. The monarchy controlled these reforms and ensured that they did not remove it from the political sphere. The Moxon system has remained important in the informal working of the Moroccan parliament. The process of government formation has forced political parties to include within their ranks those with close ties to the palace, as the palace remained highly active in negotiations, so as to ensure the government they wanted was wow. In
mhm.
order to gain power, political parties may not um, criticize,
Criticize.
criticize the Moxon system, accuse the monarchy of operating a deep state, or take any action that could contradict the palace's position of any issues in which the king has spoken directly. Meanwhile, the monarchy has retained control over certain ministries in the government, preventing the PM from fully appointing their own cabinet, and has retained control over the Security Council. Yeah, it's pretty
PM means
interesting.
and PM means prime minister. But the reason why we didn't go over it is because they're talking about the kingdom of Morocco in modern times as of 2011. Right,
Right.
but it definitely highlights the fact that they're still using the system.
Right. That was the part I wanted to highlight. Islam. I
Hmm.
yield.
They're still using the Moxim system. That's what. Okay, what does it say right here? The Moxin is a very ancient notion in Morocco. So if it's very ancient, who's who is the fathers and mothers of the Moxin? The ancient people. Who are they? I'm listening.
We are.
Oh, okay. The Moors,
Morse.
right? What is a Moor? The high priest of Anu, the holders of the ancient Egyptian mysteries. Period. So if you're talking about the holders of the ancient Egyptian mysteries, then you're talking about ancient people. We're the ones who established the Moxin. And now today, the Alawite dynasty, the Pale Arabs, are still operating that system. While we're over here colonized, dead to the world, an afterthought. But yet at the same time, the world population imitates the Black Americans, not the Africans, not the Caribbeans, not even the Panamanians. The Panamanians imitate the Black Americans. Everyone imitates the Black Americans. You'll see Nigerian rappers with Tim's and Yankee hats on, like they from New York or something. Everyone imitates the Black American.
Even the
So,
Indians.
yes, indeed.
I'm a black nigga. That's
Yeah, that song. I
crazy.
know that song. Yeah, they got a rap song called that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I remember hearing that song. It was hilarious. Everyone want to be us, but no one want that drama though. No one want that smoke. They just want to be us. They want that style, that swag, that this, that, the intelligence. They stole everything from us. We invented everything here. I'm on the internet right now. You're on the internet right now. You're on your phone right now. Why? Because of Amor. It was Amor who created the internet. It was Amor who created the cell phones, not Steve Jobs. The meek,
Teach, Sultan, teach.
the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. We are in a meek state. We shall inherit the earth. There's no one exists, no nothing, all things of convenience. The AC, HVAC and heating and AC system, plumbing, building, the refrigerator, cars, everything is assessed to us and stolen from us. Ain't no Henry Ford. The real Henry Ford is a more behind the scenes putting all this together. He's the marketing genius and he put his face on it and took it away from the brother. This is what's going on. Because we fell out of what? The Moxie, which is also what? The Moorish government, right? Moorish port. These aren't Moorish ports anymore. They're now American ports. You see? And so now you got your own brothers and sisters out there undermining the whole idea by saying, oh, I'm a Marukan. And it's the Amarukan ports. It has been a thorough and speedy Americanization of the former Moors, according to Resolution 75 of Philadelphia of 1933, of which the Moorish American Society of Philadelphia were complicit. They were called out in that legislative act. The Moorish American Society of Philadelphia assisted this great nation in the thorough and speedy Americanization of the former Moors, who traversed from the plains of Morocco and found themselves a home in this nation. Come on, Moors, you better pay attention to what these Moorish Americans is teaching you that they don't realize. It's slavery. They think it's good. Oh, we're American. We can use the El Bay and Day now because they said we can and we're the Americans. No, it's saying that you've been Americanized thoroughly. Noble Ali said it too. Descendants of Moroccans born in America. Birthright citizenship. You were born naturalized as an American. But your ancestry goes back to being a Moroccan. Islam. And sometimes I get a little emotional and in these classes.
Islam.
Islam, Sultan.
But we gotta wake up and smell the coffee. We gotta wake up and smell the kif. The gas. Let's do better. Let's come together as a people and find unity. Let's be harmonious. It's bad enough that we've got this battle ahead of us dealing with the oppressor, the colonists, to then now have internal strife. Even worse when it's based in personal stuff or lack of understanding. Study to make yourself approved, to expedite or increase your erudition. We got to go from being the minority to the majority. That's based in knowledge. A person of the minority class would tell the judge that you have no jurisdiction over me because driving means traveling, and I'm traveling, not driving. I'm not conducting any commercial activity. I'm just going to and fro. That's minority. Majority is You have no jurisdiction. Here's my constitution. This is the consul general. I need you to contact that competent authority on my behalf. You need to adhere to the um, consular notification and access rules of engagement when you encounter a foreign national. That's majority. That's higher degrees. We got to come out of the lower self. That's the devil. The higher self is God, us collectively. Why does the devil reign supreme on planet Earth? Because the Moors collectively are in lower self. We are the devil because collectively we're in lower self.
Indeed.
As we go, so does the world. So the whole world has failed because the Moors have failed.
Indeed.
When we come
Wow,
back and
that's
tie yourself together,
perfectly said.
that's Allah. Arm, leg, arm, head. That's God. When we come together, that's Jesus.
That's
That's
right.
that's stopping the rise of the Black Messiah. Is like I was saying earlier, it's not an individual.
Yeah.
It's a collective. All of us coming together. The body of Osiris, scattered
Yes.
all over planet Earth.
Yeah.
ISIS had
Teach.
to find all the pieces and bring them together.
Teach.
You have to all come together as one.
Teach.
If it happens through unity,
Yes.
unity
Teach.
and harmony, not disharmony and reality shows.
Mm.
Reality shows. We don't need reality shows in government.
That's right.
We need
Teach.
competency
Yes.
and the absolute adherence to the rule of law. If it's not a legal argument, go sit down somewhere.
Teach.
Islam.
Islam.
We'll
Islam,
pick back up
Sultan.
next week.
Wow.
Chapter 5 and chapter 6 of the Act of Algeciras. Until then, Moors, have an excellent night. Long live the Empire and His Majesty the Sultan.
Long live
Long
the
live the
empire.
empire,
Long
long
live
live
the
the
Long
empire.
samurai
live His
hawk, long
Majesty the
live the
Sultan.
wazirs,
Empire.
long live
His
the
Long
Majesty
agents,
the
live the
Sultan.
empire and
long
his
live
majesty
the
Sultan. Peace and love,
stags, long
boys.
live the
Islam.
moors, long live the
Islam.
We are one
Islam.
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 Yeah. I
Yeah.
gotta talk to you too, Sultan. Ex parte convo.
Islam.
Islam.